Witches! I live! I have survived again! It tried to take me out in 2020. Didn't work. Tried to take me out in 2022. It didn't work. Brand's camera fell down. Holy shit. And it tried to take me out last weekend. But guess what? I have survived for 3 times. I have survived the onslaught that is the COVID. Even though I just realized I was on the actual last episode of Victor Podcast, so this kind of makes it a moot point. But if you've been following our content for a while, you would know that I have not been on a lot of things, but I'm here now. I'm alive. It hasn't taken me out yet, so suck it. But anyways, yeah. Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is episode 348 of the Fake Nerd Podcast. I am Ben Magnet. I am alongside my bros. Sparks Witty is up there.
Yes, I am here also. Great to have you back, Ben.
Yeah, it is great to be back and not dying. And of course, I have Brandon McClure, who, by the looks of it, has his camera fixed and ready. Everything good, buddy? Everything fine? You completely missed.
I'm so glad that happened at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, me too.
Jesus Christ.
How much of my intro did you not hear? Like
everything?
I can
hear it. I can hear it.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. That's good.
I'm glad you survived COVID a third time.
A third time. Guys, I think I'm cursed to get sick before a major life event or a major trip, because this is the third time it's happened that I've gotten either majorly sick or minorly sick before a major event.
Yeah. We were talking about that when we went to see Godzilla -1. We were like, I can't believe this happened again.
But good news, I did heal. I did recover in time so I could see -1.
Yes, but unfortunately you missed the review. Review is upcoming for Godzilla -1 since we're on that.
We covered your thoughts. We talked about them. We talked a lot. That review for Godzilla -1 will come out Tuesday.
Yes. But why don't we talk about some of the other things that have dropped on the channel since?
Oh boy, tell me all about them.
We're back after 2 weeks. We didn't come. I forgot to mention that we weren't going to be back last week, so I hope nobody was sitting by the computer waiting for the notification to be like, "Hey, we're live. Welcome back to the Fake Nerd Podcast."
Grayson's at his computer waiting with bated breath.
Grayson is not at his computer because he's not at work at this time. We've lost our dedicated listeners, Mag and Grayson, because we switched times.
Yeah, you created an image of Grayson that I know can't exist, where like he's holding like stuffed merch of one of us and eagerly awaiting.
Oh, stuffed merch.
Brandon, no. Brandon, no.
Little Fake Nerd plushies. No, it's too expensive. I would never.
Yeah.
Too expensive. But we have plenty of things on YouTube and on our audio feeds for you guys to check out. They are in the description below. I'll go through them right now. Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4, Fake Nerds Watch has begun. Myself, Xander, and Travis Alexander. My friends Travis Alexander and Xander Hake joined us for that. Which was really fun to do. That's episode 1 and 2. 3 and 4 is also out, but that is the last 2 episodes that will come out before just one final episode for the series for season 4. We had trouble scheduling that one, so there's only 3 episodes for Star Trek Lower Decks that are going to be out, but the first 2 episodes are in the description below. That was a good season, by the way. Probably one of the better seasons of Star Trek. Probably the best season of Star Trek that aired this year. And one of the better seasons of Star Trek, period.
Even better than how Picard hit you?
Yeah, so Picard and Lower Decks, not to kind of give too much away, but Lower Decks is for sure 100% in my top 15 of the end of the year. Picard is still there. I need to kind of reevaluate some of the things. The kind of how Picard ends is a little weird and still kind of sits with me as a little strange, but there's still a lot that I love in Star Trek Picard season 3. But Star Trek Lower Deck season 4 has such a bonkers insane. You guys don't care. I'll just say what it is because the season.
I asked because I care.
No, I know, but like I'll say what the reveal is at the end of the season because I'm going to name a character that nobody in their right mind is going to know. But there's a character called Nick Locarno that shows up at the end of this season, and Sparks is pretending to know who that is. And it's such a obscure nothing reference that becomes such a big kind of emotional arc for our character, for one of our main characters, and it was incredible. It was awesome. I loved it so much. So it joins probably 3 animated shows that are in my top 15 this year. Which is going to be fun to see. But mid place in the comments below. We know what you're here for.
Here for the magnet.
And Wasted Space has ended. Wasted Space Volume 5. We've covered all 5 volumes of Wasted Space on the Fickner Book Club, but the final volume is available now for you guys to check out. It's very fun to do. I'm sad it's over, but it ended in such a good way that I'm excited for you guys to listen to that, and hopefully you've read the book along with us. It's a great series.
Or if you didn't, please go check it out. It's a fantastic 5-volume series. It's very digestible. It's very good. It's a smaller indie comic title. Highly recommend. And we have discussions for all 5 volumes up, and you can definitely check those out at any point. But highly encourage it. It's one of my favorite comics that's out there.
Yeah, same.
And a while ago, I want to say it was 2-ish years ago, give or take.
Yeah, when we first started. Are you going to talk about when we talked to Michael Morisi?
Yeah.
Yeah. We did that right after we talked about Volume 3 because volumes 4 and 5 weren't out in full yet. That was lovely. I would sincerely love if we could do so again to talk about the rest of the series.
Invincible Season 2, we've started Fickner's Watch for that one in earnest. We've not done we've only done the first 2 episodes so far. We will come back to do 3 and 4. Just timing and scheduling and whatnot, but episodes 1 and 2 are there. Hey man, great series. Who's surprised?
Nobody.
Right. Incredible show. I'm really happy to be back with it. Ben, you couldn't be on that one, but hopefully you'll be on for 3 and 4.
Oh, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Ahsoka has ended. So there's 2 episodes of Ahsoka, 4 and 5, and then 6, 7, and 8. Those are 2 different episodes. I was not on the last episode of Ahsoka, but I was on the 4 and 5 episode of Ahsoka. Good series. Fun fact: I still haven't watched the finale. I was realizing that yesterday. I haven't watched the last episode of Ahsoka yet.
Oh, interesting.
Why?
I've heard you talk about things in such a way where I'm like, oh, I understand the context of this because he's referring to things that he didn't like about the finale or something like that. And now knowing that you didn't watch it, I'm like, oh, I don't know what he's talking about anymore.
I will say this: the entire finale has been spoiled for me. I'm so chronically online that the entire finale has been spoiled for me at this point.
Sure. I still feel like there's.
It's not that I haven't watched it or that I'm not interested in watching it. It's just for some reason it kind of slipped away. This was around the same time that we were recording this, around the same time that I was feeling immense burnout from the things that we were doing on the show. And so kind of Ahsoka kind of took the brunt of that. So I do intend to watch the finale, but if you guys want to talk about the finale, it's down there in the description for you guys to see and hear.
I think that's just real quick, just to advocate for it, our discussion of it. I think it's I think we bring a lot of fair criticism and praise. I think that we have a very balanced and nuanced discussion about what about Ahsoka is working and what about Ahsoka maybe tripped at the finish line of this season anyway.
So check that out, please. Monarch Legacy of Monsters, as Fickner's Watch, I'm very excited about. The Monarch Legacy of Monsters is out. That's episode 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 are out now. Because we haven't done 5 just aired, so we haven't done 5 and 6 yet. Monarch Legacy of Monsters, once again, another great show. Surprising, I think everyone at how good Monarch Legacy of Monsters is. Check out a discussion about that now. Doctor Who. Sparks, you and I did a massive episode with our friend Xander Hake of Doctor Who.
Huge.
It was so we Sparks and I were going through the Doctor Who episodes that we have missed in the interim between when the various points that we dropped off at and the upcoming 60th anniversary special. So hey, why don't we turn it into content? So we did a huge episode centered around the last 5 episodes of David Tennant and then the entirety of the Matt Smith era, which I'll be real, I did not know I had that much to say about Matt Smith.
Nobody did.
Nobody
knew, because the thing is, like, there's so much to criticize and there's so much to lambast, and you also have to at the same time go, well, wait, but it wasn't all bad. And you have to find time for the praise as well. And like that was the challenges, because we have so many things that are like that have been the thorns in our side for so long that we, especially around that era. And then you have to go, but wait, I'm being too mean, or I'm just focusing on this too much. There are good things, and I need to talk about the good things.
And then we have also talked about the 50th in that. So like his regeneration episode is right after the 50th, and it becomes because of that becomes a much bigger episode. There's still things I'm still thinking of, the things I didn't say on that episode.
You know, we knew setting out to do this Doctor Who kind of recap stuff, we knew we had to be like really broad. We couldn't be too specific. It was kind of easy to do in the early Davies era, but I think this one and the next one are going to be more challenging to cover in broad strokes, because because of timing, we're just not going back and doing like full comprehensive season by season discussions of these Doctors. We're just not gonna. I'd love it, but like we don't have that kind of time.
No,
I would do it, but we don't have the time.
The next one I think is going to be really difficult. We should probably start a little earlier if we potentially can.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got one more we're gonna do with Capaldi and Whitaker, and that's gonna be a lot of fun to talk about, because there's a lot to love and there's a lot to like. There's a lot to like. There's a lot to not like in both eras that I'm excited to dive into. And Scott Pilgrim. Yeah, Scott Pilgrim. We started the Scott Pilgrim discussion, which is exciting. There's more Scott Pilgrim to come, schedules permitting, of course.
So much Scott Pilgrim. All the Scott Pilgrim. Literally all the Scott Pilgrim.
Literally all the... No, like for real. Literally all the Scott Pilgrim.
Literally all of the Scott Pilgrim. We're doing everything.
Volumes 1 and 2 are in the description below. That's your... You guys were on that one without me. I couldn't make that one, unfortunately.
Broke my heart to not have you there. I'm excited for you to be back for the next ones.
I mean, No,
stuff happens. Scheduling and life happens. And we had to soldier on. And if you had to miss one, that was the one to miss.
Yeah. I'll just say why the same day I had to put my dog down, and it was really rough. And I just couldn't muster up the energy to read those books and be on the thing. So, but I'm excited to catch up and be on the next one. Of course, I was also sad that I couldn't be on that one, but it is what it is.
In my opinion, like, have you started reading the books yet?
Not yet. I'm in the middle of Doom right now, so I'm... The
first volume is almost entirely like very little changes from between the film and the book. So like that's why like half of that discussion was like volume 1. Well, you kind of know like these are a lot of the beats we're going to trudge in everything, so we don't need to like belabor them and that kind of thing. We're going to talk about a lot of these a lot more in the movie. So we kind of just like brush through volume 1 very quickly. And that's why I'm like, that was really the one to miss, because there is the most like, you've seen this before.
Yeah. Do you recommend reading the black and white or the color versions?
I think if you want the color, then read the color versions. I think the color is lovely. It's gorgeous. I think that the book is absolutely enjoyable in both formats. I think the color's great. But I loved it in black and white the first time I read it. Like, I think you could go either way. Whatever your preference is, do it.
Colors do go both ways.
Colors are gorgeous.
Okay, so Monarch and then Ahsoka. We have already covered those two. Today, though, Five Nights at Freddy's Cinephiles dropped.
Yes, that's true.
We discussed the Five Nights at Freddy's movie over on Victor Cinephiles, and
it's December 10th, and the Five Nights at Freddy's review is finally up.
Just get all in November.
This is how strike content worked. Is we made a decision that we were like, we're not going to dump all the strike stuff all at once, because it would all just get lost in the shuffle. So we have to like wean it out, and this is what happens when you wean it out.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's is coming out on DVD and available digitally, so
Sure.
Yeah, that's a movie that was a good discussion. There's a lot of mixed opinions of that movie. Yeah, so looking forward for you guys to hear that. All right, so that's it though. That's all the links in the description. Check them out. We did a lot
no
of
D and Dark links in there.
You're right. There is a D and Dark link in there.
Go to the D
as
and
far
Dark
as our
website. Ben's
network
on the show.
goes.
It's a whole thing. He plays
Yeah.
That
Mary
was all the links in
Frankenstein.
Dark. However,
Sorry,
did I get lost?
I think we were talking.
Was I
over
lost
each
for a
other.
minute?
Sorry, my bad. You're a little bit delayed.
Okay. You guys explain D and Dark then.
Ben.
Okay. Yeah, tabletop RPG. And this last tabletop RPG that myself, Grayson Live, and a few other our friends are doing. I play Mary Frankenstein. Grayson plays Invisible Man, and we had our latest episode drop. But actually, not only that, our finale for the Patreon exclusive Call of Cthulhu dropped as well. Sparks, have you had a chance to listen to that finale yet?
No. No, actually.
All right. Well,
go ahead.
I'm just gonna say this. I got 2 words for you: appendix fairy, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
That's stupid.
Oh man. But yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
this
because it
episode-
came out. It came out Friday.
Yeah, it came out on Friday.
Okay, that's why. Because I was looking for it on Wednesday and it wasn't there.
Oh.
So. Well, I was looking for it last Wednesday, right? Because you had a new regular episode this week.
Yeah, we had a new regular episode this week, and then last
last week you had nothing.
Right.
Yeah, I was looking for it last week, and I was like, "Where's my Cthulhu Doo?" And so I didn't know it came out on Friday. I haven't looked at my stuff since. So
Yeah, well, let me know what you think when it's when you finally do listen to it. But yeah, besides that, the latest episode of D and Dark, we set up another. I don't want to say big bad, but another guest character showed up, and the funny thing is, like, behind little inside baseball, almost all the entire cast clocked who the character was. I don't know the person who plays this certain character, but like the whole time I'm listening, and we're like NPCs are giving us clues. I'm like, is this so and so? And then when it was revealed to actually be so and so, I'm like, knew it. And then Dan was like, man, you guys clocked him so early. What the hell?
I have yet to listen to this week's D and Dark because I was listening to something else, but I'm excited to catch up.
Yeah, it's a good episode. Can't wait for you guys to listen to it.
Yeah. All right, so that's in the description below. Why don't we get into the stuff for this week? With the discussion part of this episode, I'm going to bring up Babs because it just feels wrong without her.
Bless you.
I should have muted for that one.
Let's talk about Norman Lear before we get into kind of a general discussion of things. Norman Lear passed away this week at the age of 101. Incredible.
That's a life.
And in a rare moment of kind of solidarity, all of the major networks, Fox, NBC, CBS, ABC, all of them aired an in memoriam tribute to him, which has, to my knowledge, never happened, but I think probably must have at some point. This was a simulcast kind of in memoriam thing. Like every network at this time aired this thing.
It's hard to say. Norman Lear is such a foundational linchpin inside of the creation of like modern television.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he touched all those networks in some way. So I get why that happens. Yeah, a super, super important person in the sense that like TV, the landscape of television as we knew it for all our lives, doesn't happen without Norman Lear.
Yeah. 101.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a legacy, and 101 years old is nothing to sniff at.
Oh no.
Very important too is Norman Lear was a big advocate of like the upcoming of the black sitcom.
Right. I just read the Jeffersons was one of his, wasn't it?
Yeah. A lot of black sitcoms get their way into the landscape because of Norman Lear. Hugely important for that. Again, like I said, like he really shifts what television is during his tenure.
A lot of his sitcoms I was reading would tackle a lot of topics that most sitcoms are just would either not tackle because they think they're just a sitcom to just entertain, or were too afraid to tackle, and he was there at the forefront doing a lot of it.
Yeah, truly, I think there are two, like for everything from like the 40s going up to modern day, there are two people who like cement television and shape what it's going to be for what it still is as far as network television up to this day, and that's Lucille Ball and Norman Lear.
Yeah.
It's those two.
Lucille Ball gave us Star Trek fun fact.
Yeah, true. Like everything kind of a lot of major decisions descend down from those two icons and the things that they did to shift the landscape. So hugely important person, long life, incredible legacy. One of the rare, I won't say like everything he did was always good, but he was clearly a person with a lot of good intention.
Yeah.
And one of those rare kind of people you get behind the scenes of like multimedia like that. He was an advocate for change and progress.
Okay. Well, the last thing we'll talk about before we get into our thing is SAG-AFTRA. This week, I believe it was this week, right?
Yeah.
They ratified the contract. Now we've talked about the SAG strikes and the WGA strikes for a long time now. We did our best to stay informed and inform you guys on what was happening. When WGA got their contract, it seemed like a very good contract. Like there was a lot of turnout. Everyone was really happy with it. There was such a victory attitude surrounding the WGA contract, and I only bring that up because none of that was present for the SAG-AFTRA contract. For SAG-AFTRA, this new contract was met with a lot of criticism, especially from the voice acting community, who felt left behind. And as far as the AI protections, now that's not to say that this contract was not good. There were a lot of good gains in this contract. There were a lot of great streaming residuals, a lot of things that they fought for they got, but AI was kind of the big one that they didn't get, and there was this big attitude coming from SAG-AFTRA that was saying, we'll get them next time.
Yeah. If I may.
Yeah.
So kind of a big thing, and like a lot of my friends who are in the union who I've seen talking about it or who have talked to me about it, it's very much a sense of when the strike ended, everyone believed that what they'd been fighting for this whole time, what SAG-AFTRA had said they wouldn't relent on and all this stuff as they were doing the strike, that they would win those things. And in terms of the AI protections, like it's not what they were striking for. You know, it's not what they were willing to commit for to get this. And they felt misled, and they felt kind of like, again, we've talked about this, like kind of rock in a hard place, because they're like, the pressure is so much worse to just take this.
Yeah.
Because the negotiating committee relented and said, sure, and ended the strike. But once everyone had their eyes on it, they're like, this is not what we did this for. Like in terms of the AI protections, this is not why we were willing to strike for this long. And it's really hard because it's created a lot of discontent and dissonance in the community for it. And I think going forward, it's going to be harder to like convince them that they're going to get what they need. So another nasty part of this is this was ratified with only 38% of the union voting. And people have pointed to, wow, that seems like a really low number. How come people didn't turn out to vote? And that isn't the problem. They demanded that the dues be paid for you to be eligible to vote. And those dues are the dues that go back 6 months during the strike. So a whole chunk of the union doesn't have the fees to pay those dues right now because of the strike.
That's nasty.
That's
Yes,
messed
it
up.
is. Yes, it is. One of my close friends was like, this is a stupid way to have gone about this and really upsetting, and it feels like they were tricked and they were trapped.
There's that kind of sensibility happening with this one. There's a lot. Look, it's a very nuanced discussion to have. I know someone in IATSE very personally, and there was this kind of idea that like, let's just get back to work. We've got the contract. Let's get back to work. There's a lot of there's a lot of pressure from within the union and without the union to just be like, hey, take this contract. Let's just get back to work. Let's get these people working again. And it's such a shame because like as soon as they called off the strike, as soon as they got the interim contract and they said the strike is over, they lost all momentum to go back to the negotiating table. And
Yes.
So they were as Sparks rightfully said, between a rock and a hard place at that point. They had it was either you take it or you go back on strike again and you go back to the table with nothing.
Yes. Yeah.
And that really sucks.
They're all just stuck. Like I lament for a lot of my friends who are in the union who wanted to vote against this and then couldn't because they couldn't pay the dues. But that I in my head, like I didn't say that I'm not part of this. I'm not gonna push my opinion on you, but I'm like, they're saying like I'm gonna vote no on this. I can't accept that this is what we went on strike for. And I'm like, you got nothing though now. Like unfortunately, it's not your fault, but the committee screwed you. Like you've lost all your bargaining power. And if you go back now, you're the bad guy. Like no matter, unfortunately, you will be the bad guy.
And it's such a shame because like, you know, look at the kind of super heroic reception the WGA negotiating committee was received by this kind of, there was standing ovations, record turnout. What was it? Like a 98% turnout voted yes on the WGA contract. And then you get this, and all of a sudden, and now these well-respected people, these well-respected actors, this in this negotiating committee are seen as villains now. You know, regardless of the pressure that was probably being given to them by some of the higher ups in the union. I look, Fran got a lot of kudos when she called the strike, and she started saying like, hey, she said AI is an existential threat to our industry. And now she's saying we trust the studios. This is what she's saying. We trust the studios to do the right thing about it. You cannot trust people who look at you as a number on a spreadsheet to do the right thing in any capacity. There is no one who makes over $1 billion a day who will ever do the right thing ever.
I will say that like ultimately what you've ended up with is a contract that feels like, yeah, it's pretty good if you're an A-lister or a B-lister, but if you're anything below that, like you don't have the public protection against AI. Like they're not going to AI without permission any of the known names.
Right.
But it's everybody else in the industry who's going to be hurt by this. And I think, you know, we are where we are now, and they set themselves up for it. This is, you know, we have to live with the fact that they walked away from the table with what this was, and that's what it's going to be now. And so now we're in they have screwed around. Well, we're going to have to see what happens in the find out phase now.
It was those people that they were striking for. It was the C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. It was those listers. It was those people that they were striking for. They kept saying, "We're not striking for George Clooney or Emma Stone. We're striking for the background actors. We're striking for the voice actors. We're striking for these people." And they are the people that were left behind by this contract.
Yes, 100%. Like, there's no. I'm sure what we're going to see is that the next time the rounds come around, like a lot of the upper board of the union is going to be voted out. New people will be voted in who they hope will fight for them more accurately next time. Yeah. And like, unfortunately, that's where we are. Is like, you're going to have to fight for this again in 3 years.
Yeah,
that's the deal. Is like, if you believe in this, if you care about it, then you have to fight for this. And I'm not even going to say that there's an entirely wrong stance on this. It just sucks because you needed all of the things that you got that aren't the AI protections. You needed all of it, and you got it. The residual stuff from streaming, that still could have been better than it is, but it's something.
They
but
looked at
you're
it
gonna have
as
to go back,
foundational.
and you're gonna have to go back about the AI stuff, and like hopefully, because we know they're going to make AI stuff in the next 3 years, hopefully you can use that as a table of evidence of like this is bad.
Yeah.
And win your fight. I hope so. But
The thing is, like, when Microsoft made that deal with that AI company we talked about a couple weeks ago to make, and it companies don't have to use it. It's not a requirement to use it, but like, you can't trust these corporations to do the right thing. You have to force them to. You have to force them to do the right thing. They if they can cut corners, they will. And it's across the board. I don't care how rosy the video game industry is towards creators. They are just as complicit. Everyone, all these corporations, every single corporation is complicit in this idea that they have to be forced to do the right thing because they will not choose to. They will never choose to. And
at least
they're looking
at every big name.
Right. And they're looking at right. You know, like the smaller companies like Lionsgate or A24, they can't even afford not to do the right thing, right? You know, those people were pretty much okay there. But like these Warner Brothers, these Disneys, these Microsofts, these Sonys, like they are people that don't value human life, do not value art. They are in this industry to make a quick buck and then retire on their 40 yachts. And that has been made very evident this past couple of months. And it's a shame to say, but it you know, you can't look at this contract and say say this is just foundational because we'll go on strike in 3 years.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
That's not how you're supposed to treat this. You're supposed to this is the one. This was the moment. And what, look, maybe it was just pressure. Maybe it was a fumble, whatever the excuse is. It's done. This is it.
It was definitely a butt fumble, that's for sure.
A butt fumble?
It's a sports thing. If you follow football, you know what I mean. But anyways, my whole thing on this is there shouldn't have to be a next time. Like
Right.
Sparks, you were saying, is like a lot of people saying that they were talking about how it's like, oh, we'll get him next time. It's like there shouldn't be a next time. Like Brandon was saying, this was your shot. You missed it. And now you have, I mean, best case scenario, a few studios do make AI generated things. They are completely awful. And they're like, okay, yeah, we messed up. They learn from their mistakes, but we know that it's not going to happen. They make mistakes. They just say, oh, we'll just cut our losses and try something else that saves us money or some other financial BS that's going to happen. So,
yeah.
But yeah,
go ahead.
No, this was their shot and they flubbed it up.
So like they didn't. I do think it's important to stress that like in the same conversation, like it wasn't a full flub. Like there's a lot of other things in this contract that like they were hard wins. Like
yeah,
they were things that the studios were not willing to give and they gave. It does suck that the AI protections are like bad, and again, like it is not the thing that the people wanted them to fight for in terms of AI protection. Why they were willing to strike, they wanted something stronger for that, but we can't pretend that like the rest of it wasn't good. Like it is
Absolutely.
still like silver lining of it. When they go back to the table next year, they don't have to go back and fight for these things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these things are cemented already in their contract. They have to go back and fight for AI protections.
And you're right. Like, you're absolutely right.
It provides a lot more focus. There is an advantage in the sense that like the union can over the next 3 years, like the entire union can kind of come together against this. They have one thing to focus on and they can focus on it. And they can make that both the angle that they take for saying, well, this is why we want to vote out the people who are at the top who allowed this to happen the first time. And this is the reason why we're going to want to fight for it next time.
Mm-hmm.
And they can keep that momentum up for the next 3 years. And it's easier to say, like, we need to fight for this thing than we need to fight for these things, like a whole list. So there is a silver lining to that. You'd obviously want the victory to be here, but there is at least something that they're able to stand on because of this contract.
Right.
You're absolutely right. There's a lot of really great stuff that this contract was able to get. The criticism that I have most is just coming from the language that the upper echelon is saying, like, the kind of we'll get them next time language, the we trust that they'll do the right thing language, all that sort of thing. That's all wrong. Like it is just all wrong. And
100%.
and you're absolutely right. Like, the criticism of this contract aside, the silver lining, there's great stuff here. Great residuals, which is streaming residuals is a big thing. AI protections are just, but like SAG has a history. Like someone put this up there. SAG has a history of doing stuff like this with AI protections. Like when VHS was coming around, they didn't put in the contract, hey, we get residuals from that. When DVDs, Blu-rays, like all that sort of thing. Like they've constantly been behind the ball on a lot of things and had to come to it after the fact. This is what we were fighting. Like the streaming residuals things were supposed to be fought for in 2007, but they weren't. But the WGA didn't get those, and so they had to fight for them now. That's what AI has become for SAG-AFTRA. They're supposed to get them here, but now we're going to have to get them later on, and by that point, a lot of damage will have been done.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's a shame, but it is what it is, and you got to move on.
Yeah. I think my last thoughts on it are just I hope that they can rally that kind of focus to take it on next time, but I also hope that like the legal battles about AI continue, because I think the fundamental law we all need in place that just everybody should agree this should be a thing. It just has to be, is that if you're using AI, you have to stipulate you're using AI. That should just be a bare minimum. And this goes to like when we were talking about like why is this is going into law and like that it's being debated in the courts right now, is because if you don't do that, you can fake videos of public figures, you can do all these extra stuff. It should be a fundamental stipulation regardless of if it's for like public figure stuff or for actual art. You have to say if you used AI.
Right.
Yeah, like if you establish that, then I think a lot of these problems become a lot less, because like people can be more like, oh, that's AI art, I don't want that.
Right.
Which I think the majority of people, if they know, won't. And I think that holds people more accountable.
Right.
So
fun fact, we're actually AI generated. So
how dare you?
It's part of the law. I have to say so.
That's if we were AI generated, we'd say so much more anti-woke hate shit.
I just hold up my hand and it looks like that. It looks all wrong and mangled and things.
Oh,
God. Oh no!
we are usually four white nerdy dudes talking about nerdy stuff. The algorithm of AI would say that we need to be talking about how much women suck when they're in our content and things like that, and we don't do that. That's how you know we're authentic, because we are small.
Hey, how about those women people? Did I do it?
Right. Well,
I mean, if you think about it, that probably is what ChatGPT would probably come up for us to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Awful. But Sparks, there's some good news in the form of unionization that you wanted to bring up.
Yeah. So we've been talking about like the animation unionization stuff for a while, and we've talked about the fact that Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios Productions, they've been unionizing. That they went and said like, yes, they voted and they said, yes, we want to unionize. We need to be recognized. We've talked about this before, the fact that they need to be recognized and like how the larger companies and studios can draw that out. Disney notably has still, from like March, I think, has been drawing out like not unionizing Walt Disney Studios Animation, which voted back in March, and they haven't recognized them still to this date. So this has actually been a shorter timeline than that. Warner Brothers Discovery has finally agreed to voluntarily recognize Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios production workers seeking union representation with the Animation Guild. So they've said yes, which is a huge, huge win, especially like coming from the tent of Zaslav and his bullshit. That he decided not to drag out this fight. He just said, you know what? Yeah, okay, you're a union.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent.
Never thought I would say the words, hey, Zaslav did something right.
Well, let's be clear.
That's the biggest caveat. There's like a huge asterisk there, but yeah.
But let's be clear, like this is not like Zaslav made this decision on his own. There's a whole board, and he might not have said yes, but he might have been outvoted.
I think that might be, knowing Zaslav's background and his mountain of BS. You're probably right. He was just probably outvoted.
But this is a huge win. This is massive victory. This is going to lead to them being able to more actively fight for better representation, better pay, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully we see that really blossom into something special for them, and that other animation places can follow suit. It definitely puts more pressure on other groups like Disney to have to recognize their parties. Remember, right, that they've got Walt Disney Animation Studios that's voted to unionize, and now the visual effects workers at Marvel Studios have voted. So like Disney's ignoring both of them right now. Right. This is going to put the pressure on. So this is an absolute out and out win. This is just great news. Very happy about it.
It's incredible. I'm really happy to see this happen. More people within the union gives the union a lot more power. They've been talking about next year that IATSE and TAG, their contracts are up next year, and we're hoping to see another strike like we saw here. And it would be incredible if TAG could come to that table with more power and finally start to fix some of the problems that have been plaguing their industry these past couple of years.
They're pulling a Gandalf into two towers.
Obviously,
as the tide.
Obviously, as massive fans of animation, we want our animation creators to be treated with the amount of respect and pay that they are owed, and that hasn't happened for forever. So this is a huge victory. Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios, up until Zaslav started gutting everything they were doing, they were very much at the core of Western animation, especially on television. So this is huge. This is just great. This is really, really good. I'm really excited about what it can mean for the future of our animation creations. And it's just, there's a lot of really lovely people who have worked in Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios. So I'm really happy that they're getting to be part of this now.
Me too. Okay, well, we'll see where that goes. Speaking of going, where should we go next in our discussion?
Ben, real quick, do you want to talk a little bit on Unity laying off all those workers from Weta and everything?
I haven't looked into it. This is actually the first I've heard of that, but it does make sense. But we could touch on it real quick because I think that's more of a Pause Menu Quarterly discussion.
Sure. Well, in a sense, I mean, like, so Unity purchased Weta, which is Peter Jackson's visual effects company, Weta FX. They purchased them in 2021, and they have now effectively shuttered them within 2 years.
What?
Yep. 265 employees whose jobs are related to that agreement are now being laid off.
They shut down the visual effects company that worked on Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's King Kong, and a slew of other films. An Academy Award-winning studio.
Yep. So they purchased it in 2021, and they're saying that they are immediately laying off 265 employees right now, and then they're trying to find different places within Unity for everybody else, which totals Weta VFX totaled about 7,000 employees before this happened.
Okay, so there's some misinformation here, actually.
Oh, okay.
Weta Digital and Weta FX are two different companies. Weta FX is what Weta Digital was purchased by Unity, and Weta FX was not. So yes, Unity has laid off all those people and shuttered Weta Digital. Weta FX is trying to take those people back in, though. So Unity is saying no, we don't want them, and Weta FX is like, we'll take you guys back if we have room for you.
My bad, I misspoke there.
So Weta is still effectively around. It is still a visual effects company. Weta Digital. I don't know the difference. I'm looking it up right now. I know it's a more recent change because of this change. I know, but they are effectively two different companies at this point. But yeah, it's still really shitty because like you're losing. It's a lot of people losing their jobs.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
what the hell?
That's garbage. That is, and the thing is, Unity was already in hot water due to their like supposed contract or like per download price increase, which was put a lot of indie studios out of business because it was gonna retroactively charge them for past downloads. It's not like okay it's like all the downloads you ever made. So of course, games like Cult of the Lamb that have, pardon the pun, have gathered a massive, somewhat cult-like following. I mean, hell, there's merch of Cult of the Lamb stuff at a Hot Topic. That's why I go, okay, cool. This game is in air quotes mainstream. It's a very popular game.
Well, and this goes back, Ben, to when we talked about that, and we said that Unity had reversed a lot of that like polarizing decision stuff to make it less bad for indie developers. But as we said, like damage done, Unity showed its hand at how much it was gonna. The fact that they even considered this means that a whole bunch of developers are not going to work with Unity in the future.
Yeah,
and I do think like a lot of this comes from Unity being prepared for the fact that they're going to lose a lot of business because
they are.
So, okay, so on November 9th, 2021, Jackson sold the company's VFX Tools development division to video game software company Unity Technologies. Unity's acquired tech assets of Weta will be called Weta Digital. So, Weta, so this was like the people that were developing the VFX tools that Weta FX was using became Weta Digital under Unity. And then they kind of effectively had a partnership, and now that's all been dissolved. So Weta no longer has the tool development arm partnership,
right?
But they are still effectively a VFX company.
Sure, got it.
Yeah, because when you went to New Zealand, you went to them, didn't you, Brandon?
I did. I went to Weta. It was an incredible experience. They are some of the best visual effects. They're probably the best visual effects company in the industry right now.
Well, and Unity had been a very impressive like thing for developers to use to create games, and it's just crazy to like have taken that on that much just 2 years ago and now turn it all away.
Yeah.
But Unity's, like I said, I think Unity's like in a downward spiral now. I don't foresee, like we just had the Game Awards and there were a bunch of trailers that said like made with Unity and that kind of stuff, and we're going to see a lot less of that in the future.
Actually, because we were talking about people being laid off, I saw a clip. I want to say it was from the Golden Joystick Awards, which was earlier this year. By earlier, like last month, I think in November. But sorry, brain decided to shut down for a hot second. Ben Starr, who voiced Clive Rosfeld in Final Fantasy 16, there's a clip that's of him that I saw on TikTok where an interviewer was asking him if 2023 was one of the best years in games, and he pulled one of the best moves ever, where he acknowledged that the games were great, but instantly said the games industry has been horrible. Whereas you have like the games that we've gotten are fantastic, but if you look at the industry as a whole, 2023 has been a horrible year with a bunch of layoffs. People lost their job. He was going, I mean, he wasn't like going off. He was still in a professional tone, but he was like, yo, the games we got, I mean, yeah, we could all agree 2023 is one of the best video game years we've had in terms of finished products with the banger games that we've got. But then we get news like Unity. We get news of the layoffs at Bungie. We get news of all these other like horrific.
Epic laid off 900 people.
Yeah, Epic too. Them too. Like you hear news of all these game studios laying off their employees, and it's like a horrible dark side, like other side of the coin, where it's like the games that we've got, fantastic. Other side, it's like the gross underbelly.
Union.
Thousands of people in the video game industry were laid off this year, and the Game Awards didn't talk about it for a moment.
Oh, God. So just kind of give kind of a full picture of the Unity news real quickly. This is what the article I'm reading says. On 25th of November 2023, Unity and Weta FX mutually agreed to terminate Unity's service agreement with Weta FX effective December 10th, 2023. So today. This comes after Unity laying off the entire Weta Digital staff in a company reset. Quote unquote. Unity will continue to own the software from the Weta Digital acquisition, with Weta FX being able to continue using them. Interesting, I didn't know that. But the Weta Digital name and related intellectual property will be transferred back to Weta FX with no current plans to use the old Weta Digital name. Weta FX will be extending offers to as many of the digital team as possible as it looks to expand its research development and support functions. So some good news there, but it's still, how many people can they really bring back, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
A lot of times this year, I mean, when we were talking about people taking over companies or certain other things, and then news like this comes out where it's like, hey, they're actually really shitty. Like they kept up a really good facade. The facade's crumbling now. I just feel like constantly the Ewan McGregor Star Wars meme where it was like, you were the chosen one. Like, so many people were talking about how good Unity was to get their games off the ground, and then they decide to pull this bullshit. Or even before the Weta stuff, they decided like, hey, we deserve more money. And it's like, you guys are already making bank. What's wrong with you? Oh, that's right, corporate greed.
It's such a weird kind of phenomenon that's happened. Like Epic has a money-making machine in Fortnite. Like they're just printing money at that point. They might as well just have their own printing press. And they still laid off 900 people. Like, you couldn't find the money to do that. And the answer is always our CEO needed a bigger raise at Christmas. So where do you take it? You take it from the salaries of the people that you're going to fire.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's really freaking shitty.
It really is.
Hey, Love and Monsters currently streaming on Netflix. I just got the notification. Check that movie out. It's awesome.
The concept of exponential growth is really toxic and terrible.
And it's ruining the arts industry.
Yeah.
It's ruining every industry.
Yeah,
I was talking to a coworker yesterday because I saw the trailer for Fortnite Cross Lego, and I'm like, oh,
which is so much fun. I'm playing it on my own.
Nice.
Sorry, I know I just railed against Epic, but like the Lego Fortnite thing is just like, I just made a sandbox to just like build shit. It's so much fun.
No, that's awesome. That's great. What I was going at, because I was talking to a coworker of mine last night, and he said that Fortnite is almost trying to become Roblox because of all the different game modes that they have now. It's not just Battle Royale anymore. Like, you have creators creating their own thing, their own games, which is good.
To be fair, as many people often forget, it was never just Battle Royale, because there has always been a Save the World versus NPC campaign to Fortnite. It's just not the thing that's popular about Fortnite.
Right. And I actually forgot that there was a Save the World campaign.
Everybody does.
Fortnite, because every time someone mentions Fortnite, I think of the Battle Royale.
Do you know the nasty thing about it is that if we'd been Fortnite fans in the first year of its existence, we could earn V-Bucks playing Save the World.
I want V-Bucks. I want that Frieza.
Yeah.
That Frieza skin that's coming out looks great. The Ben, do you know what the Lego Fortnite thing is? It's basically Minecraft.
Yeah, I was about to ask if it's just like building stuff. It's just like 100% building, since it's like Minecraft, that makes sense.
So a quick thing, Ben, is that it's essentially a different game mode, and any player can build a world. There are different environments to start in. You set all these rules, and you can invite players to it. You can give them key codes to enter your world, up to 7. And you all are like building a village, mining resources, encountering enemies, exploring the world. It's just a whole side thing you get to do. And really not all of your Fortnite skins, but most. You also have them in Lego form.
I don't have any of my special ones. Any of my special ones aren't Lego because I have the very few that don't have Lego skins.
Right. Marvel and Star Wars characters, almost all of them. Go up.
Except for Ahsoka. Ahsoka doesn't have a Lego skin.
Give it time. I'm sure she will.
I know. I wanted that one though.
There are certain ones that I don't expect ever will, like the anime characters. I don't expect to ever see Legos of them. But most of the Fortnite originals, this is actually like I like some of the Fortnite original character skins even more in Lego form than I do in their regular forms. And I'm like, oh shit, I might actually play some of these now. I think it's a really cool thing. And I just wanted to point out that like, I think this is actually really smart how Epic's like using Fortnite as a template to expand, like bringing in elements from other things. So like your skins are shareable. Any skins you get in the future can be shareable, and it'll let you know, hey, also this comes with a Lego variant, which gives you more incentive to purchase it. The Turtles are coming soon, and they have Lego variants. So that's all really exciting. And then like you've got the Rocket League connection with the Rocket Racing. So it's a lot of cool stuff there.
You know what Epic owns that they could make a game mode out of? Knockout City.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Knockout City.
Knockout City.
Oh yeah. Sure, cool.
Can you imagine making a Knockout City mode, please?
I mean, tis to dream.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
I did have one other thing from this last week, 2 weeks, whatever, that I'd like to briefly bring up, just because we are on YouTube and we do the YouTube stuff.
We do.
And H Bomber Guy killed a man on YouTube.
Again.
And James Somerton.
We all witnessed the murder.
That guy got blasted off the internet so hard. You know about this, Ben, right?
I mean, I know of H Bomber Guy because of his video on the oof sound effect, which just said.
Yes,
but I don't know.
About the James Somerton thing?
No, I don't.
Okay, so H Bomber Guy's most recent video is a 4-hour video, and the last 2 hours of it are entirely dedicated to him pointing out how everything that a very like popular, made a lot of money YouTuber named James Somerton, as a like gay film critic kind of thing, and that was like his angle. He plagiarized like everything, literally everything was stolen from different articles and things, never credited. All his video essays were stolen written work from other people and like mishmashed to zigzag over into each other. So like blending different paragraphs from things together. And like, he does a full breakdown on it. Within 2 days, James Somerton destroyed his Patreon, destroyed his Twitter. All his videos were privatized and now they're gone from YouTube. This guy has been blasted off the internet, and I think it's wonderful because plagiarism is bad and nobody's policing it on YouTube. That you can, especially of like these popular major video essayists, that they can just one-to-one the hard work of other writers, and no one's going to call them on it. And they're going to think, man, what an insightful person this James Somerton guy is, and he's like using the work of 6 other very talented writers who did the research. And it's awful and it's shitty, and it's definitely still happening in many other places on YouTube. But this was a big like blow to that plagiarism problem being so rampant.
Wow,
that's all.
I didn't know that, but because I saw his video, I saw the length. I'm like, oh, that's a watch, and I just put it to the side because I was like, I wonder what's going on now. Now I know. It's like, okay, I should probably make the time for that because that's nuts.
Yeah, there's another one, the internet historian, who's not as rampant in his plagiarism, but it definitely exists, that James Somerton like makes note of, but he definitely puts the focus on Somerton. So internet historian has kind of been put on notice kind of thing. Defenders of his are like rallying up like, no.
Oh no, but I like the internet historian shit.
Well, guess what? Like he probably plagiarizes a lot of his stuff.
You know, you never can tell, can you?
Well, the thing is, like, and you think about it, and it's like, of course, because of course this has been. I think this is something everyone's known is happening without knowing who is doing it, because this is a wild west where no one is monitoring it. Nobody's like protecting video essays to monitor that this is stolen written work. Nobody's really doing that. Nobody's doing the policing, and so like, it's like. It's shitty and scummy, but then it's really bad when like you have people like James Somerton who's making like $100,000 a month,
right,
off the work of other people, that he just puts it all up in a video that he puts together, and then he makes $100,000.
Yeah, I don't know why, but for some reason, I started freaking out a little bit internally because I mean, little backstory. A while ago, like. Earlier this year, I wrote an article for Fusion about like the history of the Sonic the Hedgehog comic books. But in the article, I mentioned Comic Drake's video about it because Comic Drake did this great. It's like a 24-minute long video. It's he dives right into it. He looks up court documents, and in the article, I mentioned like, hey, Comic Drake did this amazing video about this topic. Go watch it. And because I did use a lot of his video for like some of the finer points in it, but now I'm scared. It's like, oh shit, I didn't pull plagiarism and didn't think about it, did I? Because
That's not plagiarism.
Yeah, you're just pointing to something else. Like you're not. If he's plagiarizing, that's one thing. You're not. But
I'm like, I gave him credit because I feel like I give him credit, but at the same time,
Ben,
it's like,
well, Ben, like the thing is like, plagiarism is taking other people's work and saying it's yours,
right?
And that's not what there's no world in which you just described to me that's what that is.
Okay.
This is the thing is right. Like if James Somerton put the video together, but acknowledge that it was a put together and at least change some of the words, but like acknowledge that it was a put together of all these different articles that he pulled from, right? And linked to them and credited them so that they could go get their attention and credit that's due. This would be a different conversation. But James Somerton just pretended that everything that they said is things he came up with.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
Plagiarism's bad. Don't do that.
Literally just about to say the same thing. All right. Why don't we keep it in the video game sphere and talk about some games that Ben wants to talk about?
Yes, 2 games in general. Now, of course, we all know the Game Awards happened last week. That's going to be a pause menu discussion, either the quarterly or we're just going to have our own episode about the Game Awards because I know Ryan's not here.
I'll tell you just from talking with Ryan, we're probably not doing like a dedicated Game Awards episode. We'll probably cover some of it in the quarterly because I don't think you and I have enough other things that we would talk about in the Game Awards.
I mean, the only other thing besides the 2 games I'm going to talk about is Visions of Mana because I do love the Mana series. I'm a big fan. I love Secret. I bought my SNES Mini because of Secret of Mana. Trials of Mana was really fun for me, so I'm excited about that. But now I'm not talking about Visions of Mana. I want to talk about 2 games in general. One of them was not released during the Game Awards, or their trailer wasn't released, and that is a game that so many gamers have been waiting for years. We literally waited 3 console generations. Grand Theft Auto 6 had their first trailer, and the thing I'm going to say about it is neat, and I am excited to go back to Vice City. Because GTA Vice City was a very influential game for myself and my little younger brother, not for the reasons you think, but because that game introduced us to some of the greatest 80s rock music I've ever heard in my life.
What an interesting reason.
That's what I'm saying. It was there were times my brother would just play GTA Vice City just to drive around and we could listen like David Lee Roth's Yankee Rose, Quiet Riot's Come On Feel the Noise. Those songs were our favorites. And of course, Personal Jesus by Depeche Mode. Oh man, we were rocking out so hard back in the day. And look, the game itself, it's Rockstar. It looks pretty. This is just a pre-rendered story trailer. We haven't got any gameplay news. Honestly, this game looks great. I'm not a big Grand Theft.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Because as you said, it's a story trailer. So
yeah, I mean, it looks cool. All the mainline numbered GTAs, they have pushed the envelope in some way, shape, or form. I mean, once we get more trailers coming out, and once new modes are because the thing about Grand Theft Auto is it's an entire sandbox.
Yeah. Who
Who knows? And this is coming out for PS5, Xbox, PC. Who knows how big this is going to be? Like, we got hints that you're probably going to wrangle gators. If people talk about how this is the most Florida man video game probably ever made.
Well, so notably, like, there's a whole montage of like people all around different places in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
All of those are real videos from something in Florida that has now been created for the game's context. But
Makes
they're all referencing something real. Like someone did the breakdown. They're like, it's this video. It's this video. It's this video. Like they're all just like things that do happen in Florida. And I think that's very clever. Like they're really building like the the ambiance of like, this is Florida.
Yeah.
Like, man, so that's cool. What I will say is, like, I'm not a Grand Theft Auto person. I never have been. It's no slight. It's just never been appealing to me. I do appreciate, as many people don't, the focus on Lucia as the main, as our main character. I think that's something that's been sorely needed in Grand Theft Auto. And like, it's one trailer. It's really hard to judge off of this trailer. But it feels like there's something in the air about it that feels like it wants to be more. I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. More considerate of the perspective of A, different races, and B, different genders in its portrayal. And this isn't me saying like, oh, the previous ones have been bad, but the previous ones are of their time.
Right.
And
yeah,
like,
especially
they just are. They are the thing of their time, and they know what they're advertising for that time period. And this looks like a Grand Theft Auto correctly made for the current era. And the current era is more considerate and more forward thinking in representation than we could have been at the time, which is not, again, not the games of that time period's fault. But as you pointed out, we are a long, long way down the generations away from the previous Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, even when we're looking at, like, I was trying to think back on Grand Theft Auto 5 because I have seen some other content creators. They talk about I'm putting in the biggest air quotes here, outrage over Lucia, which I think is some of the biggest BS ever. Because it's like,
obviously,
those guys are just like, they're friggin' stupid. Because not only that, because they're playing the stupid W word, and it's like, GTA for a while, even if you look at GTA 5, it's always been like that.
Sure.
Like, if you're playing or going, because GTA 5, that's like the one Grand Theft Auto where I have played from beginning to end. Like, I completed the story. I did I devoted time to it. It wasn't like where I would watch my brother in Vice City or San Andreas, because I didn't like, I would watch him play. I tried playing the games. Didn't really click for me until GTA 5. After you make big story missions, you're driving around, you hear like a news flash on your car, and it says Weasel News. And it's like, this is Fox News. They're satiring Fox News. And even the tagline in GTA 5 is Weasel News, confirming your prejudices. It's like, yeah, this is 100% satire. They are making fun of a bunch of things that a lot of Americans unfortunately hold dear. And it's like, yeah, I get it. I 100% get it. This is satire. They are making fun. They're pointing out how bad things are. And it's like, that's unfortunately real life for a lot of people.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's valuable about like the Grand Theft Auto games, and I know that's something that they've done before, and I think that what's great is, like, I think this is one that can be even more thoughtful in its satire than those ones were allowed to be. Again, that's just the time period. It's just time. It's just access to information. It's just diversity of representation. Things are different. And so there's more voices in the room. There's more knowledge to be shared. And I think that's great. So there's a lot of potential, I think, for this to be really cool for a lot of people.
I mean, I know I've been talking about how I said this game looks neat. Grand Theft Auto has always been one of those games where I feel like 5 was a special one because of how, when it came out, it was a weird part of my life. My brother gifted me the game, and then when I got my PS4, I bought the PS4 copy, but eventually I sold it because I'm like, I never got to play Grand. After I beat the story, I don't go back to it. I tried GTA Online for like 2 minutes, never went back to it.
Sure.
But I won't lie in saying that I'm a little bit excited / interested in GTA 6, mostly because of most of the locale, really. And I know this isn't like the original Vice City for the PS2, where that was set in the 80s. It was Miami in the 80s. 80s Miami is a vibe. But this is like more modern, air quotes, Miami setting. But you have like the thing about Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar has created when they create like these 3 cities: Liberty City is New York, Los Santos, LA, and Vice City is Miami. A lot of fans have been clamoring to go back to Vice City because they miss it. And they're delivering. So I'm thinking, all right, cool. We're going back to a city that a lot of people really enjoy. It's going to be modernized for next gen. The map is going to be ginormous. It's going to be freaking huge. I'm still excited to see what Rockstar is going to come out and say about it. Am I going to buy this game day one? Probably not. But if somehow the game does fall into my hands or fall into my lap, I'm going to play it and I'm probably going to enjoy it. And holy crap, Brandon, look who's in the chat.
Oh, hi,
It's
Mag.
Mag.
It's been so long.
It has been forever, bud. Oh my God. And Mag actually.
Mag, I'm with you. I'm all
Yeah.
about that Jet Set Radio.
I was going to talk about that during the quarterly, honestly, because that was one of the I'm excited. Sega's doing quick side note going away from GTA 6. During the Game Awards, Sega announces like, hey, we're reviving a bunch of old IPs, and Jet Set Radio is one of them.
Ben, look, it's great that like all those IPs are listed, and that's awesome, and I'm excited that Sega's doing that. But the anger inside of me that Power Stone isn't on that list.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, to be fair, Power Stone, that's Capcom. Yell at Capcom. I mean, so yeah, that was on the Sega system, but that's Capcom's BS.
It's both of them, let's be honest.
Yeah, it is probably a mix of both of them, but I 100% agree with you right there, Sparks. Capcom needs to get on the shit.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm glad I like what they're doing with the Resident Evil games. I want to buy the new Resident Evil 4 remake because it looks so good. It's my favorite Resident Evil game.
I still want to play the new Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which came out this year, which is like a spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio. Still want to check that game out.
But not only that, we're getting new Golden Axe. And actually, Crazy Taxi was one that got me hyped. I'm not gonna lie.
That looked good. That looked good. We'll do this another time.
We will.
Let's talk about your other video game trailer, Ben.
Yeah. Fine. So during, of course, Game Awards, a lot of trailers come out. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth had a new trailer. Give it to me! Oh my God! It looks so pretty.
Yeah.
So many things were confirmed for me in this trailer because I was nervous and I was scared what they're going to do. Now, I've talked about this to death before on prior shows, but when they said, "Hey, we're gonna reach these out in installments," Final Fantasy VII Remake is essentially the first 4 hours of the original Final Fantasy VII. People were like, "OMG, that's only to Midgar. How are you gonna make a full ass game out of it?" Surprise, surprise, they did. It was amazing. I loved it. It's a fantastic game. Great, would play again. The fact that they are now going, by the looks of it, to the end of the original Disc 1, where I would argue a lot of really very important story beats happen in Disc 1. And we're not only just getting Vincent Valentine, we're getting Sid, we're getting Yuffie as part of the party. I am so excited to see what's happening. And we got more with Zack, we got more with Wedge.
It's such a power move. Like, really, to be like, we're taking the original Final Fantasy VII and we're making multiple full games out of it.
I think they still said
can
3.
Can you think of any movie, game, series, whatever, that are just like, hey, you know this thing that was pretty long at the time, but now is comparatively pretty short? We're going to make it a lot longer, and like have like that work.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings is a fair point. Because yeah, I mean, like, those books are pretty long, but those are the original theatrical cuts of those movies are pretty digestible. But those extended cuts, baby, boy,
yeah,
they add that last movie is an extra hour and a half.
Yeah. That last movie is a marathon. But yeah, FF7 Rebirth looks fantastic. I finally got, as you guys know, I finally got Final Fantasy 16. I'm playing it. I'm loving it. I'm having so much fun with it. And now seeing some gameplay footage from Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, there's this whoever's doing the social media for FF7 Rebirth, give them a raise because they somehow maybe want to buy the game even more because in the game there's this cute little chocobo chicks, you know, the giant birds. They have the little baby versions of them and you get to pet them and it's adorable. And I'm like, God damn it. I want to pet the chocobos. Give me chocobos.
I'm trying to.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited for Ryan. I'm excited to one day when I'm 43 play the Final Fantasy VII games myself.
By the time that happens, all of them are like remastered for like, the PlayStation 7.
Yeah, your kid is 10.
My what?
Your kid will be 10.
I actually haven't talked about the fact that I'm having a kid on this podcast before.
Oh shit!
Surprise!
I guess I could have played that off and been like, yeah, my theoretical child.
Well, who cares?
Yeah, I'm having a kid, everybody.
Yeah.
This is an interesting way to find out. Man, you shouldn't tell me shit.
It's fine.
All right, anyway.
But
yeah, go ahead.
So the reason why I wanted to highlight the trailer is because this essentially, you know, like with remake, we could only assume that they're expanding more of the story. They've rewritten it because, you know, they remade Final Fantasy VII or part of it, and what we know from the original games, it's gonna be, or from the original game to this one, it's gonna be different. A lot of stuff is gonna be in the same vein, but there will be different story beats, and I'm excited for how they're gonna change it up and twist around. That's not a 1-for-1, which I'm really glad about. I'm excited. I'm excited for what's going to happen. Some people have been, I don't want to say complain, but they've just expressed a form of disappointment where Vincent Valentine isn't like a controllable character like Tifa, Barrett, Aerith, and Red 13 are going to be. He's going to be more like what Red was at the end of the game, where he's part of your party, but he's essentially there to help with support, essentially. But either way, the fact that we're getting the entirety of disc 1 in these 2 discs means that this game is beefy. This sucker is going to push the PS5 to its limit, and maybe more, and then some. So I was always excited for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now I'm triply excited, not just for I get to pet a chocobo, but because of the combat, because of how the game looks. I love Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I cannot wait to dive into this one. This one is like just put it in my veins already. Just give it to me already. Actually, no.
Saving that money.
Yeah, exactly. Don't give it to me already. Wait till the game's done. Make sure it's polished, because I won't lie. Final Fantasy VII Remake was very well polished. It had very small amount of bugs. I'm like, good on you, Square. Do it again. Don't give it to us until it's 100% ready.
Sure.
Ben.
Yeah?
I want to talk about another game with you.
Okay.
Future Basement Arcade Spooktober.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
Ooh.
Jurassic Park Survive.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm not one for survival games. They're fun. They're fun to watch. They're very stressful to play. They're just not the games that I find enjoyment in. But I cannot lie that to do it in a Jurassic Park setting set after the first movie, oh boy, that's playing on something I didn't know I needed.
After Alien Isolation, you would think that we would get a lot more games like it. This is perfect. This is a perfect setting. It's right after all the dinosaurs are loose. You know what?
And they found a way to keep a raptor in the game by making it so that the frozen one escaped.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't, then there's no raptors in the game, and that's kind of boring, honestly.
Right. Yeah, because they all got eaten by
T-Rex.
Rexy. Yeah.
that T-Rex at the end of that looks good. I know it's all pre-rendered footage. It's not. There's some in-game alpha in the trailer, but a lot of it is pre-rendered, and it looks pretty good. I'm looking forward to it.
No, just the fact that it's a survival horror dinosaur Jurassic Park game. It's one of those things that's like, why have we not thought of this before?
Yeah,
because that's perfect.
I really hope that you do have at least one sequence where you can try and stay perfectly still.
Yeah, right. Just
have a mini game where you're just absolutely motionless. That'd be great.
Yeah. Oh, and you could tie it to the haptic controller. So if you're like shaking, you like move, you start moving in the controller.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Just like, I'm gonna set the shit down on the table, and like, but if it's perfectly still, it considers that cheating.
Yeah. that would be great. Also, this great comment from Mag. Life finds a way in video games.
Yeah.
I think it looks really good. I think that it's very exciting. The idea of doing this. I think there's been a lot of desire, and I think they're relatively aware of this because of the person who was creating the Jurassic Park game in Dreams, that they had to take all the Jurassic Parkness out of it because Universal was like, stop. I don't want to see it as Jurassic Park, so they had to change it. But it was really cool, and a lot of people were responding to that because I think a lot of people want like in the time period of Jurassic Park game again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just an arcade shooter, because I feel like a lot of Jurassic Park games, or not a lot of Jurassic Park games, it's either a build your own park or arcade action pew pew pew.
Well, sure. Making a Jurassic Park game is really difficult. There's a reason why the Telltale game is really well respected, because that's because Jurassic Park isn't an outright adventure film. It's not a film where its characters are action heroes that shoot a bunch of dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
But to make a video game out of that, it's very difficult, because like how do you? So a lot of Jurassic Park games historically have added shooter elements to them.
I think there's a lot of desire, just as you referenced with the Telltale game, that there's a lot of people who want to play a game where you get to just explore the aesthetics of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And like, you don't need to do a lot beyond that. Like, create the aesthetics, give them something to do, whether that's like suspense horror or like some kind of tasks or something. But people just want to explore that aesthetic and feel like they can be immersed in that aesthetic.
Yeah.
And this looks like a great way of doing it.
Yeah.
I was always turned off by Jurassic Park games because they're all, you play as Alan Grant shooting a bunch of dinosaurs, or you play as a weird dude in a mech suit and a little Master Chief suit during the events of Jurassic Park 3. If you guys remember that computer game.
I do.
And so those are kind of fun, but like those aren't the kind of games. So the Telltale game was a lot of fun for me because you get to play in the world of Jurassic Park just after the events of the movie. And that's why this appeals to me, because like, if you are to make a Jurassic Park game, I feel like this is the only way to do it.
Mm-hmm. I think the Jurassic Park builders have their place. I think it makes a lot of sense to have those. I was a big fan of Operation Genesis, which was the original one of those. And then obviously we have the Jurassic World Evolutions, which, like, the thing I like about Operation Genesis is it's still in the classic Jurassic Park aesthetic, which I prefer. Mm-hmm. But I'd be remiss to not mention that Chaos Island is my number one Jurassic Park game to this day. This was a Lost World based game where you played through essentially the story of Lost World, except it expanded on it, where like you could hatch and grow. It's very conquer the map kind of gameplay. You set up your base and you hatch and grow dinosaurs, and by hatching and growing the dinosaurs are your dinosaurs, so they'll go do things for you. So they essentially become your units, and you go and fight the hunters who also can hatch and grow dinosaurs.
Yeah, I do remember this.
I loved it, and you had full voice acting from the cast, so you got Jeff Goldblum and Vince Vaughn and everybody doing the voices for it. It's a charming little game.
That's fun. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one.
If we're reminiscing about our favorite Jurassic Park games, it is an arcade shooter. It's not the Lost World Jurassic Park. It's the original 16-bit Sega arcade cabinet that you would find at Chuck E. Cheese.
Sure.
That was an arcade shooter. It was an arcade shooter, but it was fun. And I will never like the first level. The end of the first level is always you getting chased by the T-Rex.
Yeah,
and it was
always
it,
good.
yeah. Although there was one time where my brother and I actually beat it, and it wasn't like beat it by we just put in a bunch of quarters. But there was like a little cheat because there's this rope bridge that you go across, and the T-Rex is following you. If you shoot the rope, the T-Rex will fall off the bridge, and you beat the level like instantly. At least that's how I remember it. I haven't never been able to find that arcade shooter ever again. It's been almost oh god, it's been over 25 years. Shit.
But like as far as like modern like AAA games, like if you're making a Jurassic Park game now, like I wouldn't want a game like that.
No. Obviously, no.
Like I don't like I just don't see how you make a game like it's kind of the same problem that like you make a Godzilla game these days. Like remember the PS4 Godzilla game where it was like the two bumper controls were his left and right foot, and like that's not like you're trying to do something and you're trying to kind of emulate what these, but you're missing the mark because just by the very nature some things just can't be turned into like a video game respectfully. But this is the really good way to do it of like, you know, what is the essence of Jurassic Park? Survival. That is about these people trying to survive this island and get off of it. So let's just do that. Let's make a survival game where you are someone trying to get off the island.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for it. I'm legitimately really excited for it.
Me too.
Ben, you're close to your heart out. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up?
One other quick thing, because originally I had a thing that I was hoping to spark a conversation, but I'll just put a pin in that and bring up another day. But one more thing. Oh, it was because I started playing Chrono Trigger while I was sick with COVID for a third time, and I wanted to ask you because since it's an older game, and I was scared that essentially the question was when you approach a property, be it a game, a book, or a movie that you've never encountered with before, and everyone else says it's great. Do you try to see why it's great, or do you just put all the outside influence away and just consume it as you normally would? And like does the essentially it's like does the outside influence help or does it not help?
Yeah, let's put a pin in that and talk about it.
Last thing I will talk about though, and is another video game thing, because over this past week, PlayStation president, I think Jim Ryan or Jeff Ryan, I can't remember which, he got a retirement present because he's retiring as CEO from Sony in March, or in spring, I should say. And his going away present was essentially a PlayStation 5 in the same color scheme and the same box design as the original PlayStation, because next year PlayStation will be celebrating its 30th anniversary. It came out in 1994 in Japan, and the internet, and of course that picture of it, which was the PlayStation 5 controller in the original color scheme, the original color buttons, the original color PlayStation logo, all the cool stuff. Internet goes wild with absolute jealousy because we want that shit.
Right.
Part of me feels that this was PlayStation testing the waters a little bit, seeing how bad do people want this. And since the reception has been, as far as I can see, we want it, they're going to make plates. They might make special edition PS5s. But the thing that I really want is the controller. Is a 30th anniversary controller in the style of the original PlayStation, or maybe the PlayStation 2, since they did that for the 20th anniversary when the PS4 was a big thing.
The hopes of your little nostalgia bitch's heart.
Yes, I am nostalgia's bitch. I will wear that moniker till the day I die, because just look, I am not a. This is gonna sound weird. I like color in my controllers.
No, that doesn't sound weird.
I have definitely thought about this. Is just a random thought when I was at work the other day, where I like color in my controllers. Even as much as I love the Super Nintendo, that we got, classic system, absolutely adorable. But the color scheme of the Super Famicom and the Super Nintendo that was released in Japan and in Europe has this great color scheme, and the buttons. This is my Game Boy Advance, but yeah, the buttons are different colors. Sure. And I'm like, I like our purple. Don't get me wrong. I will always have a love and nostalgia for it, but I want the color. And even when the PS5 was released and they said, here's the controller, there's not a lot of color on that controller besides the light bar. And I'm like, I want color.
I mean, they have variant controllers that have color.
Yeah, they do have variant controllers, but I'm talking about different colors on like the button faces and even the PlayStation logo with the multicolor, like the original red, green, yellow, whatever.
Yeah.
I want that. I don't want just a solid color. I want multiple.
Sure.
And this is me grasping at straws. This is me like hoping the biggest hope. And obviously, it's going to be a big money maker for Sony because they're going to release it and people are going to buy it. I'm going to be one of them, even though I just want the controller because if they do come out with different plates to change your color of your PS5, my PS5 isn't really displayed in a way that I can enjoy it. But at least I'll have a controller that it looks like the original PlayStation 1. And because as someone who grew up with the PS1, it pulls at my heartstrings. And it's like, I want that.
Sure. Well, I guess we know Ben's Christmas wish this year.
Ben, you know what? Yeah, might as well.
If they only release it as a bundle, so like you have to buy a new PS5 to get all those aesthetics, and that's the only way to get it. Do you do it?
No, I don't have the money for it.
Good boy, Ben.
Oh,
that's
God,
right. Don't give in to sinister capitalism.
No. But thankfully, and this is where I will definitely give Sony credit. Because Sony has done this before for the 20th anniversary. They have released 20th anniversary edition PS4s that are in the same gray as the original PS1. Like the same gray color scheme and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But they knew that people aren't going to buy a new console, so they also released a controller. When I sold my PS4 with all my controllers and all my accessories, some of the places when I was trying to sell it, they were like, I don't want the console, but I want the controller because it's the 20th anniversary controller. And that actually helped me get a little more green for it. So, and even then, because yes, they probably will make this a limited edition run. But unlike Nintendo, who is notorious for having very short production windows, Sony doesn't have that limitation. And even when they first released, it might be gone for a while, but just give it some time. They restock. And then if you see a controller on sale, that's when Sony will stop. At least that is my interpretation, or not my interpretation. That is my hypothesis, because I do remember seeing 20th anniversary PlayStation 4 controllers on sale at Target. There was a healthy amount at the store. So knowing Sony and their background when they do stuff like this, it's like it is a quote unquote limited edition, but it's not too limited that people who do want it, won't be able to get it.
Right. Maybe. We'll see if it's the same this time, if they even do it.
Yeah. And of course, this is all 100% hypothetical because when they released that picture, the internet went crazy. And I'm like, give it to me. And I just want one controller. I can save up and I'm willing to spend $70 for a new DualSense controller. That's all I want.
Sure.
I'm honest to goodness not gonna get like the plates or anything. I just want the controller because where my PS5 is, I can't properly display it, so it'd be a moot point to do it.
Oh sure, yeah. Well, PS5s never move either, so like you're right.
Yeah.
All right, Ben. Shall we say goodbye?
Yeah, I gotta go get some food before I record for D and Dark, but. Anyways, you guys have a great rest of the show. Mag, it was great to see you. Mint, always a pleasure to see you as well, and everyone else in the chat who has been here. Where can you guys find me? Well, you can find me on the internet at BenMagna27 on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok. I know when I was sick, I should have been posting a whole bunch of stuff, but I just wanted to be in a little cocoon in my little bundle and watch my shows, try to catch up, and just try to recover. But I'm all better now. I survived a third time. Woohoo! I'm 3-0 fighting COVID. So yay!
Get your booster.
Yeah, I need to get another booster. I thought I was all up, but if there's another thing, I should definitely do
There's
that.
a new booster. There's new booster available to us as of late October.
Yeah, I have to talk with people at Kaiser to see when I can get it because I just recovered, so I don't know if getting the booster would help me or hinder me, but. I don't know. I'm not a medical professional. I need to talk to things. But anyways, yeah. and you can find me there. I'm also writing for Old School Gamer Magazine, Fusion Gaming Magazine, GoNintendo.com, and of course, like I said, I play Mary Frankenstein in D and Dark. Link to the show is down below, and also D and Dark has a Patreon, so you can, if you join the Patreon, you can listen to our bonus campaigns like Call of Cthulhu Do, where I play Shaggy Rogers. It's fun. It's a fun time. It really is a fun time. And Sparks, let me know when you listen to that. When you listen to that finale, because I think you're gonna like it a whole lot.
Sure thing.
But yeah. Anyways, see you later, guys. Mag, bye.
Bye,
Have
Ben.
a great show. Bye. Hope you find your dad.
Dark.
Oh God! Oh damn it! Damn it, Sparks!
Me too, Ben. Me too.
Brandon Sparks, I'm so sorry. I did not mean it like that. But also,
It's just a joke. You're fine. You're fine.
For
Just
context, both of our dads are dead.
yeah.
I was trying to quote Elf, and
I
you
know.
know
what you're doing.
I know.
I know what you're doing. It was just funny.
All
All right. Bye, Ben.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Ben.
All right. So let's move into something else. GXK.
Sure, we can start there for sure.
Let's do it.
I'm not. We were originally going to talk about the House of the Dragon trailer, but like you're not watching it, and Ben and Ryan are far more enthusiastic about it than I am. Like I'm excited about it, but like if you ask me, I would just say like, yeah, it looks like exactly the next season of the show we watched in season 1, which I'm excited for. But there's not a lot I have to dive into or talk about it, so I'm not going to do that. Maybe Ben and Ryan will talk about it at a future date. Obviously, we'll talk about the show, but. Sorry. So side
That's
tangent
cool.
there. Let's Godzilla X Kong. Let's do it.
Yeah, so the first trailer for Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire dropped, and it looks like a lot of fun.
There were a lot of rumors and leaks coming out about Godzilla design change before the trailer dropped. And then like slight confirmations. I think there was a t-shirt that got leaked out that really showed the design.
There was a toy also.
The toy, but like there was like people arguing about whether the toy was legit or not. The shirt was like mimicking a style of a Kong shirt we already knew was legitimate. So I was like, that seems real. How do you? Let's start there. How do you feel about Godzilla's new design?
You know, I think it's a bit much, because there's like,
you don't like the hot pink.
It's everywhere. Like it's in his arm too. It's like he's got crystals coming out of his arm. And like I was never such a big fan of the solid color Godzilla design because like historically speaking his dorsal plates have never been the same color as him. They've always kind of had like
the previous MonsterVerse iterations.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So like, you know, his dorsal plates have always kind of had like silver attached to the edges of them to kind of create the city. And like I kind of preferred that. I was never really that big of a fan of that. And so like they've really overcorrected with this design. That design mistake, which I think is funny.
I quite like the pink. It's one of my favorite things about the Millennium design era is a bit of pink. I think pink actually goes quite well on Godzilla.
And for our colorblind viewers, where is the pink on Godzilla in the Millennium era?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Godzilla 2000 in the Millennium era, there's pink in his spines. It's just not quite as just as it's like silver tipped, it's like pink tipped. So like the core of it is like darker, but where it gets lighter on the tips of the spines, that's a pink color.
How interesting. Never knew that.
Oh yeah. So this is not necessarily new. I think it's most noticeable in Megaguirus. That's where I think that particular one, he's the greenest Godzilla ever is. And pink. And I think that's kind of cool. I kind of like it. Frankly, I actually could do with him being just a little bit greener, not full green, but just a little bit greener here to go with the pink. But I really like the pink. I think we're far enough that we were due for a real radical design change in the MonsterVerse. This is maybe not the way I would have thought we were going to go, but I don't dislike it.
Yeah, it's such an interesting idea. So like we see Godzilla in this, he's like evolving, like something's happening to him, that he's kind of like in this kind of like cocoon,
Yeah.
that he appears as this new form. It's a really interesting idea. I have to, I am not opposed to it. It's kind of one of those things where I'm like, I really got to see it in the film full. I do have the opinion of this moment that it's a lot. It's a lot happening on Godzilla right now. This is a very busy design for him now. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that, but just wait and see.
Yeah, I think because there's obviously been some changes, but they've all been very subtle and
Yes.
small. Over the months.
Notably, his spine changes from the end of Godzilla 2014 to King of the Monsters.
Yeah, and I think those have all been like okay. But I think going in a really radical direction, like if you're going to do a change, do it in a big noticeable way. And I think like, obviously there's people have talked about there's some slimming of him. I don't think that was as necessary, personally. Like I was never anti, as people will say, chubby Godzilla.
I never saw him as chubby.
Yeah, I mean, like I get where it's coming from. I was never anti that appearance, but like I'm also not too mad about this. I think the core of like this design is still the MonsterVerse Godzilla. It's still recognizably him. I quite like the color. I think it's striking. I think it's something new and exciting.
That's what I'm most excited about with like GXK. Like, just there's so much color in this movie. It's what I really like about GVK. How it's very vibrant in its colors, and we're getting that I think even more so in this film. That I'm really excited about.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things is where I'm like, and I think like just as people who are very familiar with Godzilla, we're not new to Godzilla's design radically shifting.
Right.
And like changing up, even as it is the same era of Godzilla, the design might shift. Right. And this, like, I'm sure this will be cool to see in this movie, and maybe it'll carry over into the next movie, and maybe it'll change again. Like, whatever.
I like Mag's comment in here. I forgot, I had to pull it up. Curious if it's a special ability, like one he can magnetize or other. I don't think this is the case, but it'd be freaking hilarious if this is at the end of the film, he just breathes out and he changes back like it's a Super Saiyan design.
I wouldn't. I'm sure it has shifted his ability set to some extent, because usually when something this radical happens, Godzilla himself is affected by it. Right. But like I said, like there's obviously a lot to kind of learn about why is it happening, the cocooning, as you were talking about, all that kind of stuff. I'm interested in what that means, where it's going. Obviously, we get like a popping out of the ice here feels like a nod to the original Godzilla versus Kong.
Yes.
Which is cute. How do you feel about the rest of it?
Well, real quickly, one last thing. Let's get it clear. It's not Barbenheimer. It is Super Saiyan Rose Godzilla. Let's be clear. That is what this is.
I saw you tweet that, and I'm like, that's cool and all. I quite like Barbenheimer personally.
I get it, but you're wrong.
I like Barbenheimer Godzilla just because it keeps the atomic bomb stuff present.
I get it, but this is so clearly Super Saiyan Rose. He's Super Saiyan. I'm just saying. All right, I'm actually not. I don't give a shit. The rest of it. So there's something that I must confess. Again, which is something that is not a confession. It is something that I've been saying many, many times over the years. For me, the most interesting character in the Jurassic World franchise is Blue. I think he is a character with far more happening, far more interesting character development. What?
She,
sorry, thank you. I think Blue is a character that has far more interesting character development, far more it's just, that's more interesting to me. What this film has, what Adam Wingard has talked about is that this film is very anthropomorphic, in which and how it treats Godzilla and Kong. There's and you see it in GVK also, that you can kind of see the two of them communicating by the way the film is structured and shot, and their reactions to each other. And supposedly there's more of that in here, and that's got me really interested, because I quite like making like Godzilla and Kong the main characters of the film, right? Like
Sure.
that's what that is. That's the MonsterVerse films have wholly abandoned the idea that human characters are important and have centered on Godzilla and Kong. And
well, this part of the MonsterVerse right now, because
that's why I
Monarch's
said
over there
films.
saying like human characters matter.
That's why I said films.
Sure.
But yes, so like Godzilla and Kong being the main characters, I'm actually really interested to see where that goes. So that stuff has me really engaged with like Kong and the Scar King and this little tiny baby orangutan, or not an orangutan. I don't know what that is. But he, and then we see like a lot of other Kong species who we thought were dead, still alive somewhere.
The baby you're bringing up looks like a mix between orangutan and gorilla. Like he's got the orange orangutan fur, but he's got gorilla-esque face.
And the other thing is, I'm actually really happy to see Gia again, because I think as much as I say the characters clearly don't matter in the Wingard MonsterVerse films, Gia is a really compelling character in GVK, and I'm really happy to see her return in this film.
Yeah, I think it would be a bummer to not have her. Her connection to Kong is really special. I'm not anti centralizing like Kong in these movies, and like Godzilla is like a secondary, like the additional, just because like Kong becomes a relatable protagonist kind of thing.
Yeah, Kong's the underdog. We want to root for him.
Well, and like, you know, I think Wingard has been working on it, but like Godzilla doesn't have personality the same way that Kong does.
Right.
I think it's there, but like Kong's is much more present and communicable in all his films, whereas like Godzilla, what I would say is like Wingard is better at making the monsters feel like their own characters who you can recognize and connect to like what they're doing by looking at them, rather than Godzilla 2014 or King of the Monsters, where someone has to tell you what Godzilla's like, their perspective of what Godzilla's thinking or feeling or whatever.
Right.
Or the monsters in general, they're like, oh, it's doing this because XYZ, and like, you know, they have to give their interpretation for the audience to go, oh, that's why the monster's like that. And Wingard seems better at like creating character inside the monsters. That's a strength, and the color, as you said, is a strength.
More so because the MonsterVerse Godzilla is a petty bitch, right? Like most of his fights have been because he's
now for sure.
Yeah, he's a petty little bitch, and like I love that about this MonsterVerse Godzilla. Like he attacks Kong 3 times because he's just pissed off at him. He's got beef and he wants to squash the beef, of course. So like I really love that about this version. But like what Wingard is able to do is kind of give Godzilla a personality outside of that. Like you see, I just rewatched GVK, and like you see that turn where Godzilla is like fully against Kong, like really wants Kong to submit to him, and then decides, oh, you can see Godzilla work it out. That axe has power against Mechagodzilla if I charge it up. Like you see that happen, and I think that's really interesting that Wingard is able to convey that through no one telling you, oh, if Godzilla could just power the axe, blah blah. Like you see Godzilla figure it out, and I'm glad that Wingard is carrying on, because I want to see more of that.
Yeah, that's I think a fair point. I'm glad that like a chunk of our human cast are people returning from the previous movie, because it at least makes a little bit more work of like than having to make me invest and meet new people entirely, in which case I'd be like, do I even give a shit? At least I'm like, well, I know Rebecca Hall, so at least Brian I know Tyree her. Henry. And I know Gia, I know Brian Tyree Henry, who I enjoy. I enjoy watching him regardless of the fact that I don't think he really has much of a character. Like he's fun to watch. And then you got Dan Stevens coming to play, which I hope is he's going to have something to actually really do. I have to wonder if he's like filling in the blank of like Alexander Skarsgård maybe didn't want to come back, and they're like, well, we'll make a new character, but it's basically that guy.
It's possible. I mean,
Yeah.
he's he knows Wingard. He's a friend of Wingard's, and so this could
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like, hey, why don't you just come and play?
Yeah, I hope Dan Stevens is allowed to do something, but like I'm not expecting, nor do I think anybody is based off the trailer, like real human stuff
No.
here. Which is fine. I hope that's not forever the case of the MonsterVerse films. I hope Monarch kind of creates a sea change down the road that like, oh, we could bring this back to like giving a shit about people. But obviously for now that's not what we're doing.
The difficult thing has always been how would you balance something like for a film like this? How would you make characters more engaging when this film is clearly like, we want to see Godzilla and Kong team up and kick some ass?
Sure.
So like that's also kind of the problem I think the Fast and the Furious films have stumbled into, which is like, we come for the car chases. We want to see Dom do ridiculous things and drive off a bridge. So where does the character stuff kind of gets lost? I'd be really curious to see the potential of being like, can we actually marry the two? Can we take the human drama of, say, Monarch and put it in with the bombastic nature of Godzilla X Kong? Is that possible to merge the two in a way that audiences will respond positively to? I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just curious to know if it is, if it is possible.
I think if Godzilla versus Kong had done more work, you could do a story here that is about like Kong in the end making a choice between, are humans my family now, or are these apes I found my family?
But isn't that still centering around Kong's characterization and not necessarily humans?
Sure, but it would have to have been developed because of their connection to humans. And the thing is, like, Kong is more workable as a character that connects to humans. Kong Skull Island benefits from this too. Yeah. Like Kong already feels like a character with pathos, with connectable, relatable, human-like emotions, because we are so close to apes and the ape family and gorillas and everything. So Kong has that already.
Right.
And even baked in, like going back to the original King Kong source material, like that's a part of like the moniker of what he is. So yes, it's still like centralized through connecting Kong, but if you were asking me like, how do you do a SmackDown film and marry in the human stuff, it's by connecting the human stuff to Kong, because Kong is the conduit who can like emotionally actually communicate and make active decision about human beings.
Yeah. I don't think that's a robot arm. I think it's not a cast.
No, like the moment that we definitely like could have thought that from the photos, but the moment that the trailer starts, you see his arm inside of, it's like a gauntlet.
I think it's a cast. I think his arm is broken and like it's an enhancement, but I think it's initially a cast.
Sure, could be. Yeah. Either way, like his real arm is there. Like it's just over it.
You saw my tweet where I tweeted like, "Oh, they changed Godzilla's spines again." Before the trailer dropped, that's just the post. I was like, "Oh, they changed the Godzilla spines again. Interesting." Oh, Kong's got a metal arm?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like completely missed that.
Yeah, the trailer I think makes it pretty clear that it's like something over his arm.
Yeah.
Which is neat. I'm down for Kong to have the power glove. Go for it.
Yeah. I'm also like, that shot of the two of them running towards the camera got me hyped.
Yeah, I like it. I know a lot of people are like, and I'm like, I'm digging it, y'all. I'm excited for that fun time. It looks like the bro's ready to go smash down.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm okay with having the good time doing the SmackDown film, and it looks like it's going to be a hell of a SmackDown film.
Yeah.
And it might benefit more from not trying to have had some human story that it ultimately decided to scrap, like the previous one clearly did, and just be like from the out and out, like, we're doing the SmackDown movie.
Yeah.
And like that's what it is. What I will say is like my main like, I'm not that interested in this movie personally right now, is I just don't really care about the Scar King. And what I mean is like, not necessarily as a character, like I'm not thrilled about the design. I'm not thrilled about them as a nemesis to these two. there are obviously, again, just as it was with the previous film, there are people suspecting there is still another monster being obscured from us.
Yeah.
That will be a bigger threat to the two. But I'm just like, I just don't find the Scar King. I don't care for the look of him personally. Like it's I'm not jazzed to watch him go toe to toe with these two. And there's nothing about him so far in the trailer that makes me think he could even kind of win this fight.
Yeah, I'm outside of he's just bigger than Kong. But like Godzilla could waste him. Like I'm not sure. I'm so curious why is King of the Monsters going to be the only Godzilla, the only MonsterVerse movie to have a Toho monster in it?
I'm not going to say that that's going to be true forever, but I guess it really depends how this movie does.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we haven't gotten another one. I mean, well, no, I'm sorry, Mechagodzilla. Obviously, Mechagodzilla is in TVK.
Sure. I mean, like, I get that that's technically a Toho monster, but like,
yeah,
we're using the terms really loose there.
Sure. I mean, like, why haven't we, like, are we going to see a Megalodon or a Megalodon?
A Megalodon.
Sure, let's see Megalodon. Megalon or
it does feel set up for Megalon, right? Like,
yeah,
the whole way the Hollow Earth stuff is there. It's like you could do Megalon so easily.
Biollante has been the one that people like. If you're doing this whole thing where it's like about Earth and about Mother Earth, then Biollante is right there. Why can't he be why can't she be a major antagonist in this franchise?
I think one of the things that they've done is like, because Godzilla, like in the MonsterVerse, Godzilla and Kong are kind of part of balance, right?
Yeah.
So why would Biollante as a representation of Earth fight balance?
That's a good point.
I think that's hard to swing. Like, you could go for the environmental stuff, but like she's anti-humans, but not anti the monsters. And the monsters decide they want to protect humans. But like, again, like I think because of the concept of balance, they've kind of thrown Biollante into a weird angle to take. I think you could do a cool reinvention of Hedorah, the smog monster.
Sure.
I'm still personally like, please just do aliens. And please just bring Gigan down from space.
We already did King Ghidorah. He was an alien.
Right. And I'm just like, but I'm like, go for like, I want humanoid aliens who throw a monster at human beings saying, yo, we want your planet. Here's our monster. And Godzilla's like, yo, what?
Biollante, I think Biollante would probably work in a show like Monarch, actually.
Yeah.
Just another Alpha Titan who represents the Earth.
Yeah. I think
not necessarily as an antagonist. But Mag has the perfect idea. Mag has solved it. Mechanicong.
Okay, so I'll say like no. Only because like that's what like Scar King feels like bad Kong, right? I think I lost you for a moment there.
Right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think if you're doing Scar King already, that is like, what if Kong but bad, and I don't need Mechanicong to be metal what if Kong but bad. Like,
sure,
I'd rather not go to that well. To be honest, like I'm so, you did the Mecha Godzilla, and I'm like, please never do a mecha character again, unless it's like bringing in like the human created, like, here's Jaguar and he's gonna like whatever. Like, sure, go ahead and go off in that direction, but like I don't need a mechanized version of one of our Titans again.
All right, well, why don't we move on?
Real quick, I'm trying to think if there was anything else about it I really want. I'm all down for the flavors. The flavors seem good. We've got such wonderful Godzilla content in other places, like having this other piece of flavor to the media. Like, even in the MonsterVerse, we're getting Monarch, which is more thoughtful and all that about human stuff. And I'm like, great, that's awesome. I really hope that's played off more. I hope we get more Monarch, and I hope that affects the future of the MonsterVerse. But like, sure, give me my Godzilla vs. Kong 2.0. I'll watch it.
Yeah, I think we talked about this really. We talked about this when we were talking about the first two episodes of Monarch. It'll take a while for what's going on in Monarch to actually create a sea change. Like, it's not like GXK was too far along to do any sort of meaningful change to to do that. But anything further could potentially be inspired by Monarch to try.
Yeah. And I think I think it's just great, like where we came out of King of the Monsters, and we were like, man, I don't know how much the MonsterVerse has left in it as far as life. And now here we are, and we're like, man, real cool stuff going on.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Do you want to talk about the Boys trailer?
Sure.
It looks great.
Yeah. It looks like more of the boys.
Yeah, like that was kind of the thing where I was watching it. I was just like, yeah, it's more of the show I like. There's a lot in this trailer. It looks like Ryan kills a dude.
Oh yeah, people have like looked at that clip. It's definitely Ryan.
Yeah.
He pushes a dude and he flies into a building.
Like holy shit. It does look like Homelander is probably going to get some sort of trial. Show trial for killing that guy from the last season.
I do think this goes back to when we were talking about The Boys season 3, where like I'm confident this is going to be another great season that's going to be quality. The Boys has very much, like as we talked about when we did the top 15 and everybody forgot about The Boys season 3 except for myself, which was really funny to me still. But that it is a known quantity, and I think that makes it so that you're kind of like, yeah, it's The Boys. The Boys is always good, and you just kind of like get sated into that point. I do think they really do only have like one more season past this of doing this story. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, we're going for Homelander for real this time, and like, how's it gonna get mucked up, and what are the bad things that are gonna come up as they do it? And I'm like, it's creating the political divides. The political divides are getting more heated because of how Homelander's coaxing the fire and all that stuff. And I'm like, that's real cool, man. We can't do this forever. Like, yeah. I'm sure it's going to be quality now. I'm sure it could be quality in another season. And then we maybe have to at least be done with Homelander, or if we're going to keep going with the boys, or we have to be done with the boys as a whole.
Because this season, last season was very much Homelander's descent. Post the, like even season 2, he was still like, with Stormfront, he was still like on that face of like, I'm Superman, I'm this great superhero, blah blah blah. But season 3 is really where that mask started to come off, where he started to be like, I'm better than everyone. Right. So like we're kind of I can see the trajectory of now that mask off is internally, that mask is coming off externally, and people are starting to see Homelander as a terrifying figure and not a heroic figure, which could be really interesting to see. And I think you're right that we've got. Honestly, I think The Boys probably has 5 seasons in total in it. Yeah. And then after that, we're probably stretching a little too thin. But even so, like I've got no reason to think that other than a twinge of fear in the back of my head. Like this show could go on 10 years and it could still be quality for all I know.
Yeah, I think that I think that quality can be kept up, and I don't think necessarily The Boys or The Boys universe has to stop that soon. But I do think the story being we have to dethrone Homelander, that has to end soon.
Yeah,
we can't do that for forever. And I do think like we're whittling away at it, especially with how many times can like our heroes, many of whom are normal people, come up against Homelander, and Homelander lets them live.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about this, but The Boys universe is due to continue because there's a second spinoff in the works called The Boys Mexico.
Third spinoff.
The Boys
Diabolical, Gen V, and this, yeah. And I think that's great. I think there's a lot of cool storytelling to do with the premise of The Boys that is not bound by Homelander. Mm-hmm. But I do think like this core story element of the focus on Homelander, that we're gonna have to reach that conclusion sooner than later.
I think there's a lot of fear in whenever they talk about these. I think honestly, quite frankly, unfounded fear when it comes to these spinoffs of The Boys that I see online a lot. And I not to bring up too much of the online discourse towards these, but they keep talking about how like, oh, The Boys is becoming the very thing it satirized. But like, as long as there's still something to be said, like Gen V was seen as like, someone said online, it's like, oh, I can't believe I have to watch the spinoff to understand the 4th season. And it's like, I think the people were trying to sell you on the spinoff. Like, I don't think it was ever supposed to be necessary to understand. But like, do you want the spinoff to be like, yeah, we're making the spinoff, don't watch it though? Like, what are people expecting from this massively popular show? And as long as it's still being that satirization of the superhero genre in different aspects, different areas, it has the potential. I don't see the problem, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I think as long as like the quality and the passion is there, like go for it. And like if it isn't, people won't watch it, and that's whatever.
Yeah.
From all accounts, like I haven't watched Gen V yet, but Ryan really liked it. I know a lot of people that really liked it. And have said like it's just as quality as The Boys, and I'm excited to check it out because apparently it's very good. So that's great.
It's on my list. Did you notice a lot of shit came out this year?
Yeah, of course.
Like it felt more stuff came out this year than before. Like it just felt so hard to keep up with.
Well, again, like we were in a year that was reactionary to the pandemic still.
Good point.
Like projects that finally got to cross their finish lines, and so there was a lot of like kind of fighting over taking center stage for it.
Man, if the strikes had happened, we'd probably still have Echo. Thank God.
Yeah, I mean, like things are. I think things are slowing down again. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot. Well, and it's also a lot. But it's been a lot of like you and I specifically of the Fake Nerds. You and I consume a lot of things across a lot of different kind of genres and mediums, even more so, I think, than this is no slight on Ryan or Ben, certainly than Ben, but even Ryan, because like Ryan won't watch all the cartoons that you and I will watch or things like that. And so very, very broad. So a lot of things have come out that have been in our wheelhouse in particular. So it does feel like quite a lot. Anyway, going back to The Boys, Black Noir is there again, which is interesting.
We'll see, a lot of people think they're going to do the clone story.
It's hard to imagine what else it is, but I'm really curious how that's gonna. I'm really curious how that's gonna play out. I hope that they've got a good idea for that. Jeffrey Dean Morgan's here. Kripke getting all the people back. I'm just waiting for when Jared Padalecki will show up.
Do you think he's certain? I'm sure he wants to, right?
Yeah, I suspect just because of his schedule and like what else he does with his life, he'll be like a 1 or 2 episode appearance that gets killed by somebody.
Sure. By Soldier Boy.
Or something, like, that'd be cute. Yeah, I suspect that before the run is over, I suspect we see Jared Padalecki play something.
Yeah, I agree. Do you want to talk about the Furiosa trailer also?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it looks great. I'm really excited about Anya Taylor-Joy playing this younger version of her. I think she's excellent casting. It looks really striking and cool and colorful. It looks like a George Miller film in all the best ways. I think it's a real shame that so much of this had to be done during the pandemic. So you can tell there's not as much on location filming as there was in Fury Road.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some shots where it's just like, oh, that's a digital landscape. Oh,
sure.
That's a digital landscape. And just when you put it against Fury Road, it's like, that's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, Fury Road has a lot of people talk about. The Fury Road has a lot of visual effects in it, but that you do kind of lose something from the on location shoot that Fury Road was able to benefit from. But it still looks incredibly striking. I love, for some reason, finally getting to hear Chris Hemsworth's actual native accent in a movie.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is wild to me that this might be the first time this ever happened.
Yeah, I don't think it's the first time, but it's definitely the first time in like a major title that like not the films he made before Thor, kind of thing.
Yeah. They were saying some people have said this might be his first like Australian film that he's done.
Sure.
Because I think he was probably on Australian TV shows prior to Thor, but I think like films, Thor was it.
Maybe I'd have to look into that, but yeah, it's cool. I'm really jazzed about going back to all of this. I think it looks cool. George Miller has a passion. Again, like my only ding is I'm just like, man, it just can't look as good as Fury Road, and that's a bummer.
Yeah, I'm looking up Chris Hemsworth's IMDb. Let's see. He's only done 46 movies. I feel like he's done more than that.
It's actually quite a lot for how long he's been on the scene.
That's true. Okay. TV series. I was wrong. His first film was Star Trek.
There you go.
Look at that. And then before that, he just did a bunch of TV shows.
Yeah, I think it looks like George Miller's bringing it again in every way that he possibly could.
Yeah, I agree. It looks striking, and I'm really excited for it. Okay. I have some news I wanted to bring up, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
We don't have to spend a lot of time on it. One is which I think you're interested in. Yeah, Mag, I know he was Kirk's dad. I've seen that movie. I know that.
I just forgot the order that it came out in.
But Disney is putting Soul, Luca, and Turning Red in theaters. These are the three Pixar films. Yeah. These are the three Pixar films that weren't in theaters because one was because the pandemic, two was because Chapek was an idiot. Maybe Luca could have been. But
both Luca and Turning Red could have been in theaters.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I meant.
Yeah, Soul could not have.
Yeah.
But
Soul makes sense. Soul made sense. I always said the Soul made sense because like Soul, you're giving us a Christmas gift. So, happy Christmas, here's Soul. Great. But Turning Red and Luca should have been in theaters. And finally, I'm really excited. I don't think they're going to do as well as they probably would have had this been first run. But it's really cool that they're doing this so that people who do want to go see them can finally see them in theaters. I know Ryan is a big fan of Turning Red. He really loved that movie. Getting the opportunity to see that on a big screen could be really exciting.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Luca as well. Luca, I will probably go out of my way to see in theaters. Turning Red as well. Yeah. I don't know about Soul. I don't know if I'll do that. I like Soul, but I don't know if I like Soul that much.
Yeah, I think I'd probably try to go see Turning Red myself. If I had to pick one, which probably do. Look, this is because the strike has halted a lot of Disney has a whole quarter where they don't have a lot of movies coming out. And so this is their way of fixing that. And honestly, good. These films should have always been in theaters, and I'm glad this is happening.
I just think it's really funny after Bob Iger threw Pixar under the bus earlier this year around the time of Elemental's release, within its first week, saying Pixar is just not delivering like it used to. And then Elemental did great after a good word of mouth, which was awesome for it. And then Turning Red and Luca and Soul, as people have pointed out, you shit can these movies, you cut them off at the knees because of Disney Plus, and now here they'll get this chance, and I'm like, I hope they do well, just to kind of be another hint of the your theatrical to streaming pipeline is stupid. Yeah. In the way that you manage it, streaming should be much further behind than it is.
Yeah.
It should never come out on Disney Plus before it comes out on Blu-ray. That doesn't make sense.
There's Peacock, I think, has Last Voyage of the Demeter is still not on Peacock, and I'm that. To be fair, that's a movie that people would probably find in streaming, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Bold. You waited that long to put the movie. Barbie and Oppenheimer are still not on streaming services.
No, I think Barbie's on Max now.
Barbie will be on Max next week. But it's taken a while, right?
Yeah, sure.
And that's fine. You want to take both those movies are on Blu-ray. Both those movies have been doing well on Blu-ray, and now they're going on streaming. That makes a lot of sense. Disney Plus streaming service?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
This Disney Plus streaming pipeline is broken, and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, I'm sure Christopher Nolan stipulated this doesn't go to streaming until XYZ date.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it even goes at all.
I kind of regret not doing a review of Oppenheimer.
I mean, we always can. We can always go back and do it. Nobody's stopping us. We are our own.
I haven't stopped thinking about it since I saw it.
I think it's a brilliant film. I think I could have had things to say about it. I didn't feel the need to do a review. But it's a strong film. I really, really enjoy it. It and Barbie both were great films.
Yeah, I agree. I don't regret not doing a review of Barbie, but Oppenheimer, I want to do Blue Beetle and Last Voyage of the Demeter before we do those two. But yeah.
No, of course we have our things. We know what we're doing.
The last thing I want to bring up is Sparks. You unfortunately you still have not had a chance to watch this show, and that's you've got a busy life, and it makes sense. One of my favorite shows of the year got a second season order, which is not something I expected, which is Fiona and Cake.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still excited about this. I still like Adventure Time.
Yeah, you and I are big Adventure Time fans. Season 1 of Fiona and Cake was incredible. I adored it. It was so unexpected and wild. And the way it ends very much felt like we're done. This was the story. We completed the story. We're done. And that could have been it. And I would have been very happy with that. Very much like in the same way like Distant Lands. The last episode of Distant Lands together again, like very much feels like
second to last, which is always weird, but I know what you mean.
Oh, that's right, because the Peppermint Butler one is the last one.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. Distant Lands
really switched it.
Together again feels like the end.
Yes. But it feels like the end. Adventure Time, I started saying Adventure Time has 3 good finales. Which is the finale to the series, the Together Again to Distant Lands, and now the ending of Fiona and Cake.
Right.
And so like the way Fiona and Cake ends, I felt very satisfied and not needing a second season. And I'm surprised that they are getting a second season, and I'm excited. But I can't help but wonder, like, what's it going to be about? Because like that first season it was very much done.
I can't help you, but I'm sure they've got ideas.
I'm sure they do too, and I'm excited to see it back. I'm excited to get Fiona and Cake back. I think they're wonderful characters. I am so glad that they were able to hold a series, because like very much could not have been able to,
Sure.
because they're only like 3 episodes of the original series.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to see more of that show. I can't say too much more without spoiling it for you, Sparks, and I don't want to do that, so I'm going to hold off, and hopefully you get to watch it soon.
Sure. Yeah, it's on my, my nearby docket.
Yeah. And we'll come to it for an animation station whenever you get to it. I hope so. But you want to talk about some other things that aren't news related before we get out of here?
Yeah, I recently consumed Our Flag Means Death.
Yeah.
I watched both seasons of that, which I had not seen season 1 when it originally came out. And Ryan and Kate, who had both seen season 1, were like, we gotta watch season 2, and so we watched season 1, we watched season 2. I think the show's very good. I think it's very clever. I think there's a lot of really great characters inside of there, great cast, a lot of good humor. I love all the queer storytelling to it in multiple ways. I think that's excellent. I'm not going to spoil anything about season 2. I think more in season 2 than season 1, but it's definitely also present in season 1. I rub up against Steed sometimes as a protagonist, just because I don't find him as likable as I'd like to. And that's fine. Like I know that like part of the point is for him to be the way that he is. I just think 1 or 2 times it goes too far to making him really hard for me to want to root for personally. But that's not everybody's feeling about it, and that's fine.
Yeah, I haven't seen season 1 since it aired, and I haven't seen season 2 yet. I really liked it. I have to see season 2. I really should watch that soon though. But yeah, I kind of understand what you're saying about Steve being unlikable, especially where we leave him out at the end of the first season. But I'm curious. So I'm curious to know if they maybe go too far in season 2. And again, like I talked about before we recorded, like Ryan and myself, we were kind of swept up in the kind of hype of the show as it was airing, being like this was it was such a surprise, because like they kept the fact that it was a love story between Steve and Blackbeard a secret, and when it finally happens, everyone's kind of like, holy shit, like this is like, I can't believe they actually committed to that.
Sure.
And so like that's really interesting. But like coming to season 2 with all that hype gone, like what is that show now? What does that show have left to say,
And I think there's still a lot of great stuff to it. The surrounding cast are really well loved. I think there's a lot of great stuff with them in season 2. I think there's a lot of great messaging in the show in general. My thing with Steed is that I think, to your point, even in season 1, that he does things that are very selfish. And like the thing is that we're 2 seasons in, and outside of him recognizing that he loves Ed and wants to be with him, he's not growing. Like he's not becoming a better person necessarily. Other people around him are, by the nature of what his relationship with Blackbeard creates, but not him himself. And he's not necessarily growing into a better person. He's kind of still, even by the end of season 2, a lot of the same person that he was at the beginning of season 1.
Sure.
And so like that selfishness doesn't go away, and nobody's like pushing him to make it go away either.
Yeah, I get that.
And that's the part where I'm like, I don't mind a character being that way, but I do feel like I want to watch a character start to change from that, and like the positive effects in their life make them improve. And I don't think Steed is improving outside of recognizing his queer romance. That's like it. And I don't think that's enough to me. So he's like really bottom tier of my favorite characters on the show by the end of season 2. Because of that. I just think there's a lot more. I think there is growth and arcs to so many other characters, and he's just not one of them.
Right. I know you got one more thing you want to talk about, but I think I should bring up my one thing that I wanted to talk about.
Go for it.
Because I think you and I can both talk about the last thing. But this one's pretty singular, so I want to just kind of get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Which is I listened to the entirety of Big Finish's 60th anniversary special for Doctor Who, Once in Future. Thanks to my good friend here.
Well, the entirety that's out.
The entirety that's out. The 8th episode is not out yet. It's out next year.
Because they're psychos.
They are insane. But all in all, I think it's really good. It kind of does suffer, I think, from the same problem that I have with the 60th anniversary specials on TV, which is just the fact the 50th anniversary just to me kind of felt more like a special event. Between the light at the end, which I recently listened to, and the Power of the Doctor, it just kind of felt more like a celebration of Doctor Who. And not to say that the 60th isn't. It's just there was a different feeling in the 60th of more of a less of a celebration, more of a good time,
Right.
And that's no slight on the 60th anniversary specials at all. I like them a lot, but that's just kind of how I felt about it. But Once in Future, I think, is mostly very good, but you can tell that about halfway through they got the contracts for Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant, and they were like, how do we put them in this? Because they were writing it before Eccleston and Tennant signed on to do Big Finish stories.
Right.
There's one story in particular that I flat out don't like, and I tweeted about it. This was the 6th Doctor episode, which pairs him with Lady Christina D'Souza, who I love, and Jackie Tyler, who's in it for some reason.
It's because she's been in a bunch of Big Finish stories.
And I don't understand why. Like this, it's like
because they can't get Rose.
But they have Rose. They have Rose Tyler episodes. Where like they're playing the dimension hopping Rose Tyler.
Yeah, but when they can't get Rose, they get Jackie.
It's so weird. And like unfortunately to say, the whole episode's kind of a wash. It doesn't really add anything to the overarching story at all. And no, I guess I can't say that. It doesn't introduce the villain. The villain is interesting because it's I shouldn't spoil it because I just said it's the villain of the piece. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I won't say who the villain of the piece is. The villain is a Big Finish created Time Lord. That is a really interesting concept that I wish I could say more about.
Sure.
I don't know. How long do you think it'll take you to listen to this?
A long time, but it's whatever.
Can I say who the villain is?
I don't care. Go ahead.
Okay, so it's a big Finish introduced Time Lord who is we're introduced him as the Two, and then we introduced him as the Union, and it's a Time Lord who, when they regenerate, their previous self stays in their mind, talking to them. So as they regenerate, more minds are locked in their head, so they kind of like are battling for one body every single time they regenerate. It's a really cool idea. It's a really cool concept for a Time Lord, that the regenerations are just wrong. Because your brain is supposed to be overwritten by the regeneration, but what if it's not?
Right.
Kind of a cool idea that I really enjoyed. But my favorite episode is actually the David Tennant one, which is really weird because it's very much a last minute episode edition. But it's really good because it's David Tennant as the 10th Doctor. He starts the episode as the first Doctor, and then he's hit with this degeneration ray again for the second time in the special, and it's such a potent beam that it actually shoots him into his future self, and he's kind of confused by it the whole episode. But he meets Madame Vastra, Jenny, and Strax, and Missy.
Interesting.
And it's a lot of fun because David, the 10th Doctor and Missy have some great, they're so fun together. It makes me wish we could have seen them on TV.
Yeah. Missy is definitely a master who I wish carried over. Not that I want her to do the 13th Doctor story stuff, because that's all bad storytelling with the master. But I love Missy. I think Missy might be my favorite interpretation of the master as a character. Just what's there in the character. John Sim's wonderful. I love watching John Sim play the Doctor, but Missy has so much depth to her.
There was something different about Missy that they really leaned into that I like, specifically in the later Capaldi stuff, not necessarily the early Capaldi stuff. But she's a lot of fun playing with David Tennant. And then it's revealed that she's also not supposed to be in this body. So it's actually not Missy. It's the Master having regenerated too far because he was also hit with the degeneration ray. So that was they have a lot of they do this thing where they pre-member. So they whenever they're in bodies, they're like, oh wait, I know you in the future, don't I? So they're thinking about all the memories are scrambled, and so it kind of gives them a way to do some stuff. But all in all, it's a pretty fun story. I like, for the most part, all the characters they mix and match with and do stuff with, and all the Doctors are doing some really fun stuff with their characters. The 5th Doctor and Jenny story is my second favorite. I really like that one. I thought that was a lot of fun. I just consumed a lot of Doctor Who. A lot of Doctor Who within these audios, and I finished the Whittaker stuff, which we'll talk about it when we do our Doctor Who episodes, but I firmly believe that Whittaker has the worst regeneration special of the entire run of Doctor Who, of New Who.
I don't think that's a hard thing to say. It's
so bad.
No other Doctor is taken out of the story for a third of their own regeneration story.
It's baffling decision. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, it's just emblematic of how Whittaker is given the short end of the stick constantly in the writing.
Yeah. Anyway, but we'll talk about more of that when we do our.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Once and Future was a lot of fun. I'm really glad I listened to it all. I loved listening to the Big Finish Doctor Who stuff. There's such good times. Yeah. Anyway, we want to talk about Nimona, right?
So does 7 feel like it ends, or are they leaving you hanging for that 8th episode?
7 definitely feels like it ended.
Okay. Interesting.
There's a really good... Oh, there's one more thing I want to talk about because you brought it up. The whole special, event, we're not sure which Doctor was hit with the degeneration ray. By the time we get to the last episode, he degenerates into the 8th Doctor, and he's like, oh, I'm back. I was the one who got hit with the ray, and he doesn't quite remember. What it is actually it was the War Doctor that was hit with this ray. And so he's talking about so the way they're beating him is the Doctor's like, I'm in full, I've defeated you, all my parts, I love all of me, I love all being me and doing all this stuff, and all of the Doctors are me, and this kind of whole thing we're all one person, you can't you can't scatter me across time, and because we're all one person. And then the villain is like, except there's one that you don't acknowledge, and it's the one that I hit with the degeneration ray. You were wrong the entire time.
Mm.
And it was, and then the war doctor comes out and he's like, you're talking about me. Yes, I'm the one that nobody wants to talk about. I'm the one doing this. Blah, blah, blah. But then he degenerates again into 8. And 8 has a really great line about the war doctor that I love, which is, so this is now after 8 has regenerated. But he says, there's a terrible future in store, and someone must carry that burden and be ready to let the doctor back in. He is our shield, our protection from the worst of it. Right now, I accept him. Like, talking about the war doctor, like, the war doctor, we had to become the war doctor. He is the one protecting the previous doctors and the future doctors from having to suffer the atrocities of this war. He's like talking about the war doctor as a protector of the very name of the very character of the doctor was such an interesting way to look at that character. I really liked it.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, it does feel like it ends. So I don't know what the hell that 8th episode could be.
Sure. All right, one last thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I also watched Nimona, which you watched a while back, but I finally got around to it.
What do you think?
I quite like it. I read the comic. I don't know if you've read the comic.
Not yet.
I think that comic is good. I like that comic. I love this movie. I think it's a better, more cohesive, more thoughtful version of telling this story.
Sure.
I think the comic feels like it's kind of figuring it out as it goes, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But this obviously feels more cohesive from the jump. I like the storytelling of it. I like the characterizations. I like them in the comic too, but I like what they're doing here. I think Chloe Grace Moretz is perfectly cast for Nimona. I think she brings a lot to the character.
She's so much fun as that in that role, I think.
She is, and Nimona's a fun character, and I think it's just a really engaging, fun film. I lament that it wasn't allowed to go to theaters.
Me too.
I'm
glad it was able to be. It was someone saved. Like Netflix saved it from someone, I think.
Yes. I think Blue Sky? No.
Possibly. Maybe Disney.
I don't know. But yeah, Netflix saved it from being completely washed.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's lovely. I think it's really, really cool.
I really like that movie. I think it's very funny. It's very sweet. It's very charming. I love the humor about it. The animation is gorgeous. The animation is stunning. I'm so happy that movie exists, but I hate that it doesn't get a lot of attention.
Yeah. I definitely think it could get more. I think it had a hot moment when it came out, and then it's kind of been forgotten, which is unfortunate. And if Across the Spider-Verse hadn't come out this year, I would say that it's the best animated film of the year.
Really? That makes me very happy.
Yeah, I think so. I think Across the Spider-Verse beats it, but like that's a high praise.
That still puts it at second, which is awesome.
Yeah. I can't think of another animated film that came out this year that I think is better. Granted, I haven't seen Wish, but by all accounts, I don't think Wish would beat Nimona.
What about TMNT?
Oh no. Ooh, I kind of like. I stopped thinking of Mutant Mayhem as an animated film, which is weird, and I thought of it as just like a great turtle movie.
Sure.
Shit. Oh no.
It's top 3.
Okay, on a personal level, Mutant Mayhem might be above Nimona for me, but I really like Nimona.
Yeah, I saw Wish because you brought it up. I saw Wish, and it's fine. There's certainly funny moments about it, but there's really nothing. The references to other Disney films are really heavy-handed, like in really weird ways. I will say this though, Chris Pine 100% saves the movie. He's so good as the villain. I love it. I want to see him to be a villain more often.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that like everything I've heard is that he kind of got the Elsa treatment, where like he was supposed to have so much more to him, and he's reduced. But I haven't seen the movie, so I can't.
I see that. It's I mostly just praise his performance more than anything.
Chris Pine's always good.
Yeah.
Chris Pine's always good in bad movies. Like Chris Pine's just always good.
I'm so glad you saw Nimona though. I think it's a really great movie, and I thought you would really like it.
Yeah, Nimona was an important one for me to want to make sure I saw, because when I read the comic earlier this year, I was like, yes, I really, really want to get to this movie. I was really jazzed about it, and it took us some time because like other people in the house wanted to watch it. So I was like, okay, well, we gotta find time where everybody wants to sit down and watch Nimona. And finally, Nimona. So
Yeah, that's good. I'm
yeah,
glad.
yeah, I think Nimona is really special. I think it's really great. I don't know if it'll end up in my top 15, but right now I'd like to think it will. But like, you just reminded me about Mutant Mayhem, and I'm like, I know that's up there, so I don't know. Anything can happen now.
I'm gonna start writing my top 15 because we gotta record that sooner rather than later. But yeah, I really like that movie, and I'm glad you finally saw it. Should rewatch it. Man, that movie is really funny. Like, I just think about some of the humor in that movie a lot. Like,
Yeah,
when she like. Go ahead.
Where they're like, put down your weapons quickly before the whale shows up.
Yeah.
When they're all like criticizing his boyfriend for like, yeah, why did you tell us he was in league with whales?
I really like when she first shows up in the place, like, is this your murder board? Is this who you're gonna murder? It's like, no, this isn't my murder board. Her like psychotic like nature, just like, because like it's a movie about two people who, like, one person who desperately wants to be a villain and one person who desperately doesn't.
Right.
I think it's a really cool. Or when she's like stabbed with the arrow, and the guy's like, "Wait, what, are you okay?" Like, oh, yeah, I think I'm okay.
Yeah, a lot of great humor. Great humor.
All right, so that'll do it.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Cool. Went a little long today, but that's okay. Hey, when it's the two of us, boy, we can gab all night.
We could gab all night.
All right, but we're not going to do that today. Well, we might. We're recording again tonight. Who knows? All right, so guys, that'll do it for the episode, Fickner Podcast 348. Just a heads up, this might very well be the last episode of the year. The way this new format is going on, and some of the things that we have to record before the end of the year might take precedent. So if you don't see 349 until January, that is why. It's because we are doing other things that will be out in the interim. So stay tuned for those wonderful things. But of course, you can check out all sorts of things that I've just alluded to on our website at ficknerpodcast.com, where we have a tab with everything that we do. Every single episode of every single show can be found through there, through links, everything, and make it pretty easy for you guys to find. There's a lot of Fickner's Watches coming out right now. There's a lot of strike content that's still coming out. Well, not a lot of strike content. We're almost done with that stuff, right?
Yeah, I think we'll be wrapping up within this next week. We've got all of Loki for Fake Nerds Watch, the end of Lower Decks. That should be everything.
Yeah. I got to put Loki season 1 on the audio feed. Oops. So I got to remember to do that. So stay tuned for that to happen, hopefully this week. We'll see. But there's tons of things that you can check out. Such, the Cinephiles are still coming out, so plenty of stuff. You can also check us out on Patreon and TeePublic if you like to make Christmas shopping a lot easier and support us financially. You can do that over on our website or on linked below. Once again, that website is ficknerpodcast.com. Thank you to everyone who listens. Thank you to everyone who watched the live show. Thank you to everyone who watched the rewind. Thank you to Mag for joining us. He says once again in the comments here, take care, gang. Take care,
Great
Mag.
to have you, Mag.
I'm glad he got to join us again. Let's see. Thank you to Jeremy Vellucci for the music you heard here tonight and all the music here for all of our shows. Thank you to Jeremy for that. You can find him at Jeremy Vellucci _Wreck of Time, where you can find his podcast, Suburban Proctologist, on all the podcast medias such as iTunes. Of course, Facebook at Suburban Proctologist Official, or Instagram at SubProc Podcast. You can also find our good friend Mike Matola, who did our logo, and a bunch of other things and a bunch of collaborations, and hopefully some collaborations next year. There's one in particular that we tried to get done this year that we just ran out of time, and hopefully we'll be able to do it next year. You can find him at Mike Matola on Instagram, Twitter, on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. I think that's where he is. Cool. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all at Fickner Podcast, FicknerGuys@gmail.com. If you get in touch with us personally, I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. You can also find me writing for AtomicGeekdom.com. Once again, you can find Ben Magnet27 at Ben. Sorry, you can find our friend Ben at Ben Magnet27. You can find Ryan, who couldn't be here today, at DJ Tony Snark 616. And Sparks, where can we find you?
You can find me just super excited for all the Scott Pilgriming we're going to do to cap off into this next year. At Sparks Witty on Instagram, Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
All right, guys, subscribe to us on your podcatcher of choice. Rate and review wherever you get us. We greatly appreciate it. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. Until next time you see us, guys. I forgot this isn't pre-recorded. There it is. Stay fake, nerds.